anybody online? So
Yes, we do.
on public?
We are public.
Okay, we're good to go. To resolve into the committee of the whole recommendation that council resolve itself in the committee of the whole. At 5. I need to move on that. Counselor Evans, Counselor Malmus, all in favor? Carried. Okay, so right in front of us is a proposal by Terry Flockhart in regard to Indigenous artwork that she some time ago had acquired, and it's absolutely remarkable. So Terry, you have the floor. You can address council if you wish and present that artwork.
I'm not one of the public speakers in the reading. No, I'm okay, Mayor. So, for those of you who don't know, it's Terry Flockhart. I'm here today to present some artwork for the Healing Center. And give you a little background about its origin and how I acquired it. My family's been in this area since the late 1960s. My mom and dad purchased a 1940s floating cab kitchen at Maple Lake. Not far from there. And that became our family cabin. Our cabin sat in the water in front of a beautiful long stretch of beach. It was pretty secluded, and just in behind our cabin, in the woods and just beyond the beach, were a small group of mostly young Indigenous people that lived there in the teepees. We became friends and we had many great times during the summers that we spent there. In fact, one night there was a baby girl born in the teepee early morning hours, about 5 a.m. and they named her Monastery Morning Star, which I thought was pretty nice. Anyway, and then photos there that Evan's going to pass around to see me holding the baby in front of the teepee there. My newfound friends had canoes, and they would often invite us to go with them over to an area of the lake that was pretty secluded, but there was some pictographs there that were created by the Splatson ancestors many years before. They told me the story of what the drawings meant, and mostly it meant about abundant wildlife and great fishing and so on. I found it fascinating, and that was the first pictographs that I'd ever seen. Now, flash forward approximately 20 years, I was in Palm Springs in an open air flea market where many creative people show their artwork. There was a particular artist work there that caught my eye. And this fellow told me stories about how he traveled all over the world looking for native pictographs. He told me that pretty much every indigenous tribe had different drawings that were unique to their tribes and unique to their part of the world. So he would study those and take pictures of them and then recreate them as exact replicas. And then he would sell them at the art shows all over the world. He had some from Europe, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, Phoenix, Arizona, and oddly nothing from Canada. They were spectacular, but I knew I had to have one for my place. So I had just built a house that had much high wall, and I knew that that would be perfect for that space. So I told him of the pictographs in Canada at Maple Lake, and I sent him a photo of the paintings. He was pretty intrigued, and he flew up to BC, and I took him to see these pictographs in Enderby. I then commissioned them to create replica. When they were completed, he split them in 2 pieces so they could be shipped in a belly plane to me. A few years later, the Splatsons First Nations in Enderby were building their new round community center. Saw them all. I have a picture of that. And my friend approached me and asked if I would consider selling my pictographs to them so they could be displayed in their building. Although I was honored, I told him no, I didn't want to sell them. They weren't for sale at that time. So I also have a picture of their building that has pictographs painted on the outside of that round community center that match pictographs that I have. So the pictographs hung on my wall for many years. I moved 5 or 6 years ago to a smaller home and only had 8-foot walls, so they wouldn't fit. My friend offered to keep them safe in his cabin at Maple Lake, and then he sold his cabin last year, so they were returned to me. That's about when I ran into Evan, and I'm sorry, I forget the lady's name.
Aveen.
Yeah, so she was introduced to me as who's the interior designer.
She's part of our consulting team, yeah.
For the new healing center. So we chatted about the new building and the renowned architect from Phoenix.
The
that
Douglas
we hope to
Cardinal.
get
Yeah.
For the design of our healing center. So my children's grandmother on her father's side is First Nations Cree. And the news that just broke out about the atrocities that have been discovered in Kamloops Residential School, and we talked about how saddened and horrified we were. We talked about the meaning of the truth and reconciliation. It was the first time I had heard that as well. Our conversation led to Maple Lake and my pictographs. So I showed them to her and to Evan. And she said she'd never seen anything like them before. And she took some photos and said that they would be perfect for the healing center. So I brought them here today, and I hope that you love them as much as I do. And I hope that they'll be proudly displayed in the healing center, where they can be appreciated and enjoyed by our Swats and friends, from the Sycamus residents and our summertime visitors. So.
Okay, Ron.
I've got some pictures of the original.
Ron, have you got health insurance?
Very. Well,
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow. There we go.
thank you.
Wow. Pretty amazing, eh?
have another look at the originals and then to compare.
It looks so real.
Yeah, they're pretty exact.
All right, comments or questions from council at this time? Sure, yeah, do that. Anyway, so go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I just hope there's a really huge plaque underneath it that says who it's donated by.
So Evan, do you want to comment on this at this stage?
I don't want to add too much more, just that, you know, it was a year ago when Aviv was in town to do her first collaborative meeting with the healthcare professionals, Dean Tapoya, who is part of our healthcare team, and I introduced her to Terry because Terry had a story to share. And of course, being in Phoenix and has designed healthcare centers and also has worked with Douglas Cardinal, it was just almost like fate that the two would meet. And that's when it started a year ago. And I was blown away at the story. And when I talked to Splashing and shared the story, I did not know about the pictographs and the community center and the cliffs and the story behind it and everybody. I shared this with both Edna Felix and Teresa William. And, you know, we pride ourselves on the truth and reconciliation, and that we want to do more than just talk about the atrocities and what happened. It's understanding truth, but it's also acting and trying to bring truth and reconciliation to the table. And I think that this is a great symbolic gesture to educate everyone on the history of Splashing and also hear it from a local. I mean, Terry is and always has been in her family Sycamus, and this is a story that I think can resonate with people. So we're going to probably display this in the community space of the new healing center, the 3,000 square feet, where in addition to this will be the village site and what truth and reconciliation means. So very proud that Terry took the effort to bring this to us. And I think it's just wonderful.
Thanks, Evan.
Yes, thank you very much.
Colleen, did you have a comment?
Yep, thank you, Terry. It's awesome. What a great story, you know, and you know, as Evan said, it sounds like fate. It's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you.
excellent. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Bob, you had a comment?
I was to say thank you. It's beautiful. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I can hardly wait to see that in our new medical center and that complex. And I've had several conversations with Terry and Ron in regards to this. I've been invited to their home on more than one occasion to go and see this. He was trying to explain to me what this was like, and I never did get over to their place to drink. But I'm going to do that still. All right, but and then she decided that she would take this and we would put it up onto the wall. And when I walked into the council chambers and I looked at this and I thought, oh my God, how important is this, that this stays in Sycamoose? And I'm going to see that happens. So thank you so much for the story, Terry. As well, Ron, we are going to, in the actual agenda today, is 12D, and it's regarding the District of Sycamoose naming policy. And we're looking at some way in which we're going to redirect the policy so that we can also recognize the Flockhart name somewhere, maybe in 2 Mile or however, because we've looked at trail systems and possibly streets and all of these different things, parks and how we can recognize, really important people that came to our community. And so that's going to be part of our conversation today, just so you know. All right.
Mr. Mayor, part of the discussion will be the significance in the policy of family name and whether or not it's a street, a trail, or a beach, or other designate. It's important that I think public understand why it's under consideration. And so at this time, you've heard a very, very polished presentation by Terry. And now we have to hear a more less polished presentation. I asked Ron to just provide sort of a history of the Flockhart family in Sycamoose to aid in our discussion. So I think it'll just be a couple of minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, guys. My name's Ron Flockhart. I've met most of you and that, so I was honored to, I've never been in this room, so it's nice to be here and tell a little bit of story about my background and my family. We came from Smithers in 1969 to Sycamoose, and my dad was with the highways department, and there was 4 or 5 people that bid on the Sycamoose job, and my dad did not get it. But the first gentleman that got it came here and came to this little village at that time and didn't want it. His family didn't want to move here, so they give it to my father. And we moved here in the summer of '69. Stayed at the Paradise Motel because the house in Smithers hadn't sold back in those days. They didn't have enough money. So stayed in the Paradise Motel for 6 months, went to school, and Mom worked at the IDA, where Chicks Flicks, I think it is. It used to be a store there. Can't remember. And we lived in the back of it for another couple of years. My sister came here and then she left and went away. My brother went to school for a year or 2 here, and then he moved away to hockey, and I did the same thing. And it's probably never been told, when you play a sport in cities, you usually end up staying in that city, but we never did. We always came home. It was very proud to come back to Sycamoose and play ball and water ski and we brag about our little town of Sycamoose all the time. Several years passing, then finally some of my teammates finally started coming. It might have been a mistake because they wanted to stay, so we had to tell them to go home. We started a project with the Sycamoose community, and it was so overwhelming for people like Robbie and me to play the sport and then have an arena start being built here. And the people of Sycamoose volunteering, like digging holes to save money to get our arena in Sycamoose. So that was very overwhelming. And my brother and me had the first hockey school called Flocky Hockey's Hockey School, a mouthful. And that was really rewarding for us to see the Shea Webbers and the Cody Francis, the Chris Beaches come and let Robbie and me teach them and kind of grab us that we maybe help them along the way. Self-appointed, obviously. But and then we had a business called Flocky's Cabaret. Councilman Bushel still has a tab going, but we've looked at it, it's been 25 years. But being here for more than 50 years, my family, my sister raised her family here. The enjoyment we've had being here is incredible. Even though my brother and me, our hockey card says born in Smithers, BC, Sycamoose has always been our home. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for that, Ron and Terry, and I'm sure that we're going to recognize that family in spades. So that's go ahead, Councilor McCabe.
Thank you for your comments. I met my first wife in your cabaret.
I didn't want to first.
No, got two beautiful children.
Okay, good.
All right, thank you very much. Right, so we have to move on with the meeting here. So the next is the Shambach Healing Center update. Evan, I guess you're on the list in order to the Shoe Shop Healing Center.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have some updates, all progressing. I'd like to first mention that last Thursday on June the 2nd, I had a chance to have lunch with Ray Cormier, who you all remember. It was a longstanding band member of Splash Scene, has worked there for the private sector. Now he's back doing some contract work. We laid out the challenges with the healing center in terms of what's the costs. We're looking at some kind of a opportunity for maybe Tolco to participate in providing some of the lumber materials of the facade that you see in as we inch closer to a final design. Ray will be discussing with Tolco and trying to find some opportunities with First Nation Health Authority and also other First Nation grants to assist us in our capital cost of this amazing facility. Very receptive, very pleased with the work that we've done so far, and so basically brought him up to speed on that. We have received word from our consulting team that the survey plan is done. 200 Main. So we've identified everything we need to do on the survey. The geotech is going to be here, I believe, this week, next week, to do initial site investigation of both 200 Main and 425, 417, 433 Main Street. We're looking at digging holes in the week of July 11th. The good news with that is we're trying to partner with Eagle Valley. We've reached out to Eagle Valley Senior Citizens Housing because it just seems silly to bring and mobilize two geotech companies. Geotech is not cheap when you drill holes into the ground. They have come back with a positive response that they would like to enter into an agreement of cost sharing for geotech. We received word today from both Eagle Valley and Urban Systems and BC Housing that they're interested. So we're going to coordinate the geotech work during that week on 200 Main and our housing project on 417, 425, 433. In addition, they will also be doing geotech work on their land, Eagle Valley's land, on the seniors housing component. We also have our archaeological impact assessment scheduled for the week of July 18th. It'll be roughly 4 days. Terra Environmental will be conducting those works. They are been signed off and blessed by Splash Scene as a qualified contractor. So we're glad that that's going to be done. Some initial work would be done on AIA. And those are primarily the two main projects this summer. We have to do a little bit of environmental work, and we're hoping to complete that this summer. Finally, on the healing center, we're really excited to be invited to what they call the rural coordination, British Columbia rural sites visit. Kelly's going to bring it up. This group has done tremendous work in trying to bring rural healthcare and all the different stakeholders together. Their meeting is in Blind Bay. It is scheduled for June the 16th. Both the mayor's been invited and our manager of our community health center, Karen Eastland, has been invited. As you can see, when you look at the list of invitees, they're all the players and our stakeholders that are going to support our facility. And so this is a grand opportunity for us to share with them our vision of our regional healing center. So that is scheduled for next Thursday. There may be another sites visit that we can also participate in. This is an oversubscribed program where you're seeing more and more small rural communities get involved. And so what you see on the screen is just sort of a quick summary of what the Rural Coordination Center does. And we are now plugged in with that group. And so this is the work of family community physician and Tracy Kirkman. This is the work of IHA. This is the work of the Rural Locum Program, and of course, our partner First Nations. And we're excited to see that both Nisconluth and Adams Lake will be attending. And again, our goal is simple. We are building a regional facility to be situated in downtown Sycamoose, supporting both Indigenous, non-Indigenous patients, offering primary care, traditional healing, and conventional healing practices. And we don't discriminate. It's an open facility. It's a primary care facility. It will be an outpatient facility where it's simply a continuation of what we've already been operating for a year, which is our community health center on Finlayson. It's going to be expanded to support the objectives of truth and reconciliation, et cetera, et cetera. We will wait to see what the results of the AIA are, the archaeological impact assessment, and also wait to see the results of the geotech work having to do with stability of the ground, et cetera. So I do want to make a plug to Eagle Valley. Ever since we've got the directives back on the table and the sharing of resources, there has been a serious attempt to consolidate resources. We're both working with different grants, different projects, but we are talking and we are sharing some contract work. And so I'm very pleased that today we had an immediate response from Eagle Valley Senior Citizens Housing, BC Housing, and the geotech company. So progress. That more or less, and I can take some questions. Am I missing anything, Kelly?
No.
If that includes my report, and I can answer any questions.
Okay, Councilor McCabe, you're up.
Yeah, thank you for all your work and Kelly and staff. It's kind of outside of, excuse me, normal job description. And thanks for all your help on that. We had our project meeting with the architect and our builder. It was identified that the critical path at that point was archaeological work. And we have in our finance policy, we're able to direct award to Splatson as our partners. But they didn't have the capacity on the archaeological side of things. They're busy with the MOTI and Boone Bridge, and they're investigating across the west side of the channel. So during that meeting, Edna was there also, and Councillor Teresa William. And I suggested would Tara work as an archaeologist, and they said yes, we've used them before. We respect their work, and so I had done some work with them before, and so and our builder had done some work with Tara before, and so sort of with the blessing of Splatson, we were able to go outside of, if you will, Splatson and secure Tara as our archaeologist and get rid of that as our critical path. So. Yeah, things are moving forward, and thank you for your report.
All right, thank you. Any other comments on this? Go ahead,
I
Councilor.
had one more. We did discuss additional grant funding. I know it's additional staff, but in three key areas, we discussed additional grant for the public space landscaping. We discussed an additional grant for our green footprint. And during our meeting with the project stakeholders, we bumped into a counselor from Wetaskiwin who happens to be also on the board of
FCM Municipal Green Fund.
FCM Municipal Green Fund. And she heard the story of our project and she just thinks it's wonderful. So she's waiting to review our grant application. So that way, and the third component for grant writing was also, we discussed to make the building sustainable from an operating cost and apply for some additional funding for green, like through FCM or to make it great. So very productive meeting. I brought COVID home with me. Besides that, it was good.
One question for you, Evan. When will we have the final design concept rendition from Douglas Cardinal?
We are expecting the final design within 30 days, if not sooner.
Okay,
And at which point we'll be unveiling it. What we're trying to do is incorporate the latest request from Splatsing and recognizing one of the most recognizable highlights for them and their culture, and that's a pit house. And we're trying to incorporate that design with the building, not taken away with what the building is, but the pit house is very symbolic and representative of Splatson. It's not teepees, it's not these outdoor gathering spots. And so that's causing a little bit of a delay, but once that's done, we'll be introducing the design to the public. And of course, in addition to the design work, et cetera, we are trying to complete the peer review because the challenge is keeping the costs with the design
okay.
and within our prescribed budget. And so that's also being done. So it'll be less than 30 days, we've been told by the contractor.
All right, so Edna, you're online and we see you have your hands up. I know that you were part of the delegation that went to Edmonton with Teresa and Evan and Malcolm. We're going to try to get you up here so that you can speak. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Um,
you have
I-
the floor.
Oh, actually, the only time I was gonna be partaking in this meeting and that was were the pictographs in that story. Where that young person was when they did a story out there. But
All right. Any more comments, Edna? Are you still online?
She cut out.
See your
like
hand.
you're
Must be
coming into Sequatman territory, and this is our buildings. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
You cut out for a bit there. We can hear you now.
yeah, we can hear you now, Edna. Go ahead. There you
Okay, yeah.
are.
On the basic bare bones design, it's just like the rafters or whatever are going to be showing. That's all it's going to be added on, and nothing else is going to be touched. And the design where the water is, and that I can tell where the water is, but I couldn't see the mountains. But then they told me the mountains are in the background. Said, okay, that makes sense. But if you're going to make a version of water, well, what swims in the water? It would be nice to have one or two fish to show the people this is water. This is what it's about. And that was, I think, basically all my concern was, aside from it needs to look like our territory that you're coming into and not just a regular facility that for mental health. Then now you're just looking at how could I say it nicely? Not a non-native building, a medical building. You want our people to feel it's a safe place to come to because they're the ones that have a mental illness problem, and something that looks familiar, they'll be more relaxed to come into. Aside from everything else, it was all good. We had a good meeting when we were with Douglas Cardinal. I thought it went well. So that's my input on that. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Edna.
letting me speak.
Thanks, Edna. Points well taken. All right. Any other hands up at this stage?
No.
All right, good. Any other comments on this at this stage? All right, then we'll move on. So
Hang
administration.
on. I don't need to be part of the rest of the meeting, right?
Hey.
You can go.
You can go.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Edna. Administrative updates, capital projects. Daryl, you have the floor.
Okay, through the chair, just a quick summary of what's going on in the capital projects. My plan was to make it kind of, we can get out of here, watch the Oilers win, right? But all night now, so. Since I'm not in a hurry. A couple things on the PowerPoint that I don't have are Capel Riverside, we've got an upgrade coming for the water line and the road restoration that's phased over the next few years. So this year was identified in the 5-year plan to get some design done on that and get some costing. So that's underway. We had a meeting with the engineer and got him going on that last week. And I have kept you guys in the loop on the wastewater treatment plant. We've got the pieces in place. We've had a bit of a hydraulic issue once the filter was installed. So we're taking steps now to readjust the weir that's in our filter basin. So you're more than welcome to come and have a tour anytime. Just give me a little notice and we'll show you around. I was going to throw it on the pictures, but nobody wants to see pictures of the wastewater plant. So we're right into the good stuff. So Owlhead Mountain Bike Trail, we've been working on this. Last year, we submitted a section 57 to the province. We had a lot of check marks in place. We were moving ahead. Stakeholders, we had met with them. We got letters of support from most of them. It got derailed in February. I remember the day, February 24th, we found out from BC Timber Sales that there's a block of timber that needs to be logged at the bottom of Owlhead. And that there was going to be a conflict and they could be there for 2 years and they didn't really like to work around trails. And it was a problem. So we've had to kind of pivot on our plan and start at the upper part. So from this access road here, we're focusing on getting this part before the province and so we can build the top first. And so that has been EIS and resubmitted. We've got everything out to the stakeholders to review. I think it'll be fairly quick this time because they did see the overall plan, but the province needs to make sure. So BC Timber Sales is on side with us, going up higher and starting there. I'm still pushing for this year, so we'll get that going as quickly as we can. And that's kind of what I just. Yeah. We do have an environmental assessment of all the phases underway right now as well. So that shouldn't hold us up. Solika Bridge, I wanted to get a picture of the paving and I went across the bridge as late as I could and still get here on time. They got everything ready. I expected to smell asphalt. I didn't. They're ready to go for the morning. Everything is. Tomorrow we'll pave. A better kind of picture of the pavement. The next steps after we get the pavement done will be to do the rest of the work on the bank, which won't affect traffic or anything. The lights are in place, the street lights along there's 5 of them along the bridge. We need to get them energized, so we're working with BC Hydro on that. Then we need to put some lines down, just some lines for lanes, and then they clean up and they leave. So
Fencing.
Sorry?
Fencing.
Fencing's a separate project, but it'll be coming. Finlayson Boat Launch, we spoke about that a couple of weeks ago in terms of the scope. I'm getting some direction on that. So, what we've decided is we're going to go right to our property line, and as far as where the piers are on the existing highway bridge, now that'll be the full scope. So this is now being looked at very carefully. We're looking for things that fit within the grant funding because there is a grant the submission has to be in by June 30th. And we're working on that. We want to make sure we get all the pieces that are going to matter. So we're working on that now, quantifying costs and trying to get that application into the strategic priority fund for June 30th. Culvert, never could have imagined a culvert would be so difficult to install. I said that last time. We had problems with DFO. We've resolved our problems with DFO. So that's a huge win. And we're still looking at the fish window in August. And I think we can make it. I may be coming back to council fairly soon to look at possibly sole sourcing this with somebody that's done this kind of work before. So I think we can still make the timelines. It's been really onerous. We had all the check marks in place. DFO had some concerns with the fish. We satisfied that, and then MOE came back out of the woodwork and said that they kind of went through the application a little too quickly. They needed something that was gonna carry 200-year flood plus 20%. And it's just an incredible amount of water for that creek. So when you do the math, we went back to them and they said, if you had a 200-year flood plus 20%, the banks wouldn't even hold it up higher. So they went, oh, I guess you're right. Okay. We were 10 centimeters away from having to get a bridge put over that span. So I just said, we're not doing another bridge. Let's find a way. So. This is the good news stuff. I don't know if you've been to the beach park lately.
It's beautiful. I was in there today.
We've got some turf in place. The plants are growing. The playground's brand new pea gravel in there. It's looking good. I know these are kind of stretched. My guys are looking really fat, but they're not that fat. We got the railings in. We talked about that for quite some time. That goes along the top on the lookout. We needed to put something there because somebody's got a beverage or something on that flat spot and it falls over. There's a liability thing. So it was a little bit of an afterthought, but I think we came up with a pretty good plan. Railings are in. That pergola is going to be gold when we put a couple of concrete picnic tables in there. We've got one of them coming with a granite top with a checkerboard, a chessboard in it. So it'll be a neat little sitting area out there and they can play chess.
Awesome.
Yeah, we got a couple of planters coming that'll fit. We got to be custom made just to beef it up. That pergola was a little bit weak, and we've got a bit of vandalism going on around town. So now it's pretty beefy. I'm pretty happy with it. So I think it'll be a nice feature. This is just some different views. This is from the top of the lookout. The sod looks great. Places that weren't sodded, we've done some dirt and seed, and it's all been fertilized in the last couple of days. This extends out to Silver Sands Road. It's our little trail.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we've rehabbed the volleyball courts and they're looking good. This is from the parking lot. Again, it's stretched a bit. That's not quite that wide, but that just shows a power outlet. We'll have a 50 amp service where we can put the stage over here. That's the hill there that people can sit on, and we can have big events there and a beer gardens in the tent. Pump track. So there's community engagement going on in the next, I guess, over the next few weeks. Steffi's been kind of taking the lead on putting the survey together. We're included in this now, or say this project is included in this as well. So we're trying to get some feedback from the community on whether they want a pump track. And then we've got a location that we'd all talked about in Finlayson Park. We just want to get some feedback before we move too far ahead. But we just threw this in today. This is the sign that went up today for the Main Street future development. Tennis court, I think I spoke on that last time, but I didn't have time to get a picture. Today I got a quick picture of that. It's being used. This is Young Street. I think I spoke on that one last time as well, but I didn't get a picture. This was a good day to get it because we had some rain. That's really all we're seeing now for puddles on there. So it's a huge improvement. Other items were trying to source an electric car, really difficult to do. There's hard to find. Big waiting lists. We might have found one. And then the car charger's been ordered for the Civic Center here, second one. And the mower should be arriving right away. And that's it for that.
Wonder what you do with your spare time, Daryl. Lots going on. All right, any comments or questions for Daryl at this stage? Jeff, go ahead. And then
Through the chair, water treatment plant, you talked about this filter we're putting in and it's hydraulic. Does that mean that it's actually lifting up and down, or is it just, what did you mean by that?
Through the chair, just the hydraulic comment, just referring to how the water forces its way through the filter. It's just a hydraulic pressure. It just works its way through from the, I guess the head pressure pushes it through hydraulically. So yeah, the only The only action on that filter is when we're back pulsing to clean it. So we'll hit it with water from the inside and it does rotate a little bit and just cleans itself up and then it sits there and water just moves through it.
Thanks.
Counselor Bushel, you're next, and Counselor McCabe.
Through the chair, yeah, Daryl was over at the beach park again today and just it looks really good. Everything looks really good over there. Good to see you working on the bike park and the pump track and all that stuff. It looks,
Guys have worked really hard on that.
yeah, really looking good, really looking good. I had a comment from somebody the other day about the traffic circle, not in this year's budget, but something to keep in mind. It might look really good is some maybe some flags in the middle of it. You know, like the flagpole or something like that. So I said I'd bring it up to you.
The highway,
Yeah, the roundabout, they might not allow us to do it but with the camera there and everything. It's something to make note of. Good work.
inquire on that.
Go ahead, Counselor McCabe.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to thank Daryl and the staff for the improvements in 417-25 Main. I'm sorry for the temporary improvements on 417-425 Main. I think it sets the bar high for other property owners to show that we take care of our property. And on the interim, until we have a commercial space there in housing, I think it'll add leisure and sitting space for tourists and our local residents and I see got a water tap there, I think, to accommodate the temporary community garden. So thank you for all that additional work on top of your already busy book.
All right, yeah, and one shout out to the public work guys. So I was at the ball tournament on the weekend and I got a hold of Daryl and, you know, the garbage bins needed to be cleaned out and whatever. And within 15 minutes, we had a custodian in there from Public Works and got the trailer in and completely looked after the washrooms and everything else was absolutely awesome. And I got nothing but, you know, good remark from that point. So, you know, things that are happening, 300 people in town and our bar parks were really, really busy and it was a really great event. So thanks, Daryl, for that. All right, any other comments when it comes to updates? Colleen, go ahead.
I just want to say thanks. Great job, Daryl. Like there's, you know, you Mayor's absolutely right. I mentioned the coming from the beach park onto Silver Sands Road and people are dirting out now that pathway is like a super highway. And there's a sign there now. So, you know, great. And I'll be so very excited when the bridge is paved. You can't imagine. Probably same as the mayor. Like it's like,
No kidding.
it's a couple times a day.
I'm going to be happy for Daryl when that project's completed. All right, any other comments?
I could be able to sleep tonight.
Community services, Jason, you're up.
Yes, thank you. We'll start with Jamie. Actually, she's going to do a recreation update for you. So,
Jason and Jamie's. By the way, well done. It was an excellent job on that. Go ahead.
Everyone, thank you for having me here tonight. I'm just going to give you a brief update on what the summer of 2022 is going to look like for the district of St. Louis. So the first thing I'm happy to say is that it looks like we have ended up in the endemic of COVID-19. So that means things are back to normal within the district of St. Louis and the programming and events that we all come to love over the years. Even though it's been challenging over the last couple of years, we definitely have seen some positives come out of COVID. And with that is there has been a ton of new families moving to our community. Our schools have increased significantly. And I am noticing that in our programs, especially our after school programs, and even just the registration opening up as of June 1st last week. We're already up to, I think, 20 spots already booked over the summer for our summer kids club program. We have people registered for our swim lessons. So I think it's going to be a very busy summer for the recreation department. So the other thing that we've seen is not only those families move to town, but we've had some individuals move to town that bring some very unique skills. So we have an active aging fitness instructor that's been working with the seniors over the past few weeks. She's going to continue over the summer to offer an outdoor fitness class for all ages. We have another gentleman who moved to town that specializes in wiser yoga. This is yoga meant for those ages of 45 to 75. Those from the 8 and things like that he specializes in. So keep your out, and one thing that we're finding is we have other people coming forward offering their services, such as a Learn to Fish program. We have Greg Stevenson that has come forward. He's friends with Terry, and him and another group of anglers are willing to take out children under the age of 15, along with a guardian or a parent, who actually teach them how to fish. They'll teach them the stewardship on a lake, they'll teach them the rules of fishing, and they're willing to donate their time to take these families out on the lake at no charge. So that's a very big one for our community, because one of the kids that we know can access the lake. So this is a great way for them to learn about the lake that we have to offer. So as you see with our rec guide, the recreation department, Jason and I worked very hard over the last few months. We are offering 17 separate programs over the summer for the 2022 summer season. Of course, like I mentioned, we're going forward with our tried and true Sigma's Kids Club, as well as our Red Cross swim lessons, with the note that this is the last year for Red Cross swim lessons. Red Cross is phasing out of swim lessons, going strictly into humanitarian issues. So we are working with the BCRPA to see what sort of formatting we're going to move into for next year, starting next week. We are going to offer a series of drop-in programs, which we haven't done in the past, because I've always been nervous to, find that instructor, but it seems to be working. So we are going to be offering, like you mentioned, senior fitness classes, drop-in yoga classes, a drop-in spike ball night, and a drop-in beach volleyball night, as well as a drop-in pickleball and our newly resurfaced tennis courts. Also with our newly resurfaced tennis courts, because we did resurface them, we now have a pro coming in from Salmon Arm that is willing to offer both youth and adult tennis lessons. So we've got that set up with her. And she's been a competitor at the NCAA level. She teaches a lot of classes in Salmon Arm at the Salmon Arm tennis courts there. So I'm really excited that she's willing to work with us this summer. Some family programs that we're offering this year is a Well Safe Rangers program. So this is Well Safe BC coming in, and they're going to be teaching the kids about the different foliage, about the different animals that are in this area, and conservation, as well as offering a bear spray program to adults afterwards, which is a great thing because we do a lot of outdoor wilderness ideas. We've got some active or guided hiking series again this summer. Fingers crossed. We had them set up last year, but with everything that went on, we had to cancel those. We've also hit up the art scene as well. We have a Mother Mindset coaching team who is willing to offer 2 workshops this summer. So this is basically journaling, meditation, and then some really funky art where they basically take a picture of you as a female, and then you have high beat music and vibe, and hopefully they're hoping that we can cater a charcuterie board, maybe wine for the adults attending, and just a big pump night for females to just empower themselves and make them understand that rock. We're just going to put it that way. We are continuing to work with Slachine Recreation. And once they are finished their canoe trip, which Jason will speak to later, we hope to set up at least 2 field trips with them this year. They have the bus and the means to transport, which we don't have. So we will be continuing that relationship with Kyle and Sean with the Slachine Recreation Department. Not only that, after COVID, for 2 years, we are reintroducing ourselves. It's mostly Jason, 2 new groups, rebranding we're rebuilding our partnerships that we had in the past. So you'll see in our rec guide that we're working with the early years committee, we're working with minor hockey, we're working with the Dragon Boat Society, the Senior Center, Arts Council, the Legion, and the Lions. So that way people know what programs are actually going on. And since we've started doing that the last couple of rec guides, we're getting a lot of positive feedback that people are going, it's great to be able to pick up a guide and know where everything is. So that's been an extreme positive for us. Now we're going to talk about the exciting part. We get to do events again. So starting with Canada Day, we're going to have a little bit of a different change to Canada Day. Of course, we're not going to offer our road hockey tournament on Main Street like we've done in the past. But now that Public Works has done the resurfacing of the tennis courts, that makes a perfect opportunity for us to put the youth division in the tennis courts. We can separate it into 3 separate courts for the different age groups that we have. And then we spoke of Brothers Tavern, and they're going to sponsor the adult division, so the 19 plus. So they're going to have a rig set up in their back parking lot. They're providing sponsorships, the prizes, and the manpower to actually run that part of the tournament that day. And during the day, Jason and the staff will look after the road hockey piece that will be going on throughout the day. The Arts Council will be hosting their Children's Festival from 10 till 2, along with Clown and their arts fair that they'll be having. And then at the beach park, starting at 3 p.m., we're starting off with our local band, Brian Wisnick as Sick Moose on the stage. And then we kind of shifted our focus more into families this year than we have in the past. So we brought in magician and bubble wonder, Jeff Atkins and Eve David to provide family shows for the events moving forward. And then we brought in an up and coming country band called E&A, and I've heard them and they're absolutely fantastic for those in the country. And then we're finishing off with a rock band, both of them out of Vancouver. We're going to have some food trucks on site, Dutchman Dairy, a hot dog stand. We're working on a Greek truck as well. And both of these trucks offer both not only gluten-free, but also vegan options to make sure that we're covering all of the different foodies, I guess we'll call them. And then the curling club, because they need to raise funds, will be running the beverage gardens that evening down the park, and of course, finishing off with fireworks. So everyone's favorite thing. However, a very hot topic within the BC RPA, which we'll can discuss at a later date. We're bringing back a movie in the park on Thursday nights, and this will start July 14th. And the difference for this year is we're going to set it up underneath the big tent down at the beach park. And we bought an inflatable movie screen. We bought a better projector to put movies on, and we think it'll be a very good, summer for that. On July 16th, we will be assisting the Son of Stomp with their downtown event, which they are calling Bicycles, Boomers, Babies, and Root Beer. So it's a play on words for how they're marketing. And this is going to feature the very famous senior scooter race that the seniors are thrilled to come back, and the trophy is there, and they're all excited to get their scooters decorated and everything else. I've been talking with them quite a bit. And then once the senior scooter race is done, we're going to continue on with the kids' bike games, and their theme this year is old school. So they're saying, go talk to grandma and grandpa about the banana seats and the sparkles off your handlebars, the cards and the spoke to make it sound like a motorcycle. And they're going to have prizes for the best dress bike, as well as the obstacle course that they're going to be doing with the kids. And that's going to be hosted in the Legion parking lot with a partnership with the Legion. And then the final event that we have for the summer is our family fun day that we're going to partner with the Chamber and the Visitor Center with. So that's where I'm putting it out there now to senior staff and to council. Please mark down July 30th. We will need your assistance with manning the barbecue, hauling files, cutting that type of stuff. So that is on the Saturday, the office long weekend. And of course, that will encompass the Carver boat races, sandcastle competition, the talent show. And we've hired in a local BC duo called Mitch Zorn, which is famous for writing the Humboldt song after the Humboldt Broncos bus crash, as well as a good friend of his named Dawson Gray. So they will be performing the last hour for the summer. So that is the last of the events. And just to provide council with a little bit of an update on rentals of our facilities. To date, so far, we've rented our stage out to the Armstrong Bolorama for a total of $2,500. The Wash Car, which Andy's here for Monash Music Fest, for $2,000. The Son of Stomp, they're just using the shower portion of the Wash Car for $1,000. The Armstrong IPE is renting it again, and since we've changed our prices, they have agreed that they will be renting it, so we'll be receiving $10,000 from the IPE for the rental of the Wash Car. We have it rented out for a private wedding, $50,000. We have both our tents going out for a private wedding on a separate location for $1,000. The curling rink has been rented by the pickleball club for $1,000. We got 2 special event permits from Son of Stomp and Monash. I will note that all of these events are going full other than the IP at this point in time. And then we have 2 other possible rentals for a stage, as well as a winter fest that they want to be. So if everything works out right, we should see a good return on our investments this summer. That's all I got.
Well, thanks, Jamie. Jason, you got anything to add?
I actually have quite a lot to add, but I'm realizing I should have gone first because let's get some real dull after that, but that's okay. First of all, the chief wanted to pass along some things. He wanted to let them know that the fire department just completed 5 members on a wildland structure protection training this past weekend. As well as they've got their SPU trailer is now outfitted and ready to deploy. We've had to re-outfit quite a few things. The province has given new standards for some of the equipment that need to be in there, so we've done some of that. The new truck build is in progress and a pre-construction meeting will be held next week. He started his Fire Smart program with his new crew member now hired, and this afternoon he was actually heading to the high school to try to drum up some more applications because he only has one person on his crew, so he's hoping to grow that. And then next week, we have the ammonia tabletop training exercise at the rec center at 2 p.m. in the afternoon for those that are involved. And if you're interested, let them know, because I'm sure you'd be happy to have anybody there. For myself, the rest of community services, as you know, last time we had the Show and Shine here with us. Just give you a brief update on that. The Show and Shine will be moving to Finlayson Park. So that's where the event will be held, same time, same day as the event here. We are working with them. We'll be providing some 2 20 by 20 tents for them, some fencing around the guards, and we're also helping them with some food vendors and some concession and things as well, and anything else that they ask for along the way. So that event will be going forward, and we'll work with them as much as we can. This week, we received a preliminary invitation from Splatine for July 11th. This involves hopefully all of council and all of staff. Some of you have already known, I've sort of spoken to it a little bit before. They're having a very large canoe trip. They're taking 25 person canoes and they're traveling. Sicamous is one of their stops. And what they requested from us is if we could provide hot dogs and buns, hamburgers and buns, and refreshments for approximately 500 people. And that would be us to take care of that and cook and take care of lunch between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Where exactly, I'm not 100% sure. That actually may not be in Sicamous. That might be actually their community center or anywhere in between. So we have committed it as the district of Sicamous to help out for that day. So as many people that can be there. The formal invitation is forthcoming. And sort of the formal details. So as soon as that comes along, I'll make sure to send that information out immediately. But we have said, yes, absolutely, we are interested in being part of this. And they sort of, they're in their note, they had said Sicamous expressed desire to provide opportunities to be more visible in the community, and knowing the relationship between Sicamous and Splatine, we felt this would be the perfect opportunity to show Splatine members Sicamous's commitment to work with Splatine and reconciliation. So that was their comment in the preliminary invitation. So we'll be moving forward with that. I know council received information from me last week for the Dragon Boat. Seems that there was no real concerns about that. They're just going to be moving to the Legacy Pier for the duration of the Pritchett, so that their crew of mostly seniors don't have to battle the currents in the channel during that time period. But that seems to have gone very well, so it's no problem there. I have started negotiations with the curling club in terms of their new agreement. It's a bit tense, those discussions. I won't deny. I have involved Councillor Bushell and Councillor Anderson in the discussions at this point. Also for the Councillor Anderson had expressed interest in the revenue and fundraising parts that we unfortunately didn't get to last meeting, but we will. We're going to meet again next week with this group and sort of pursue the next level and see where we go. With this is their concern is definitely their income, and as of yet, although they have put a lot of applications out for grants, they haven't got anything formally backed. So they're hesitant to be counting money in their hand that they don't have yet. But we'll move forward with that. Following up, Councillor Evans, I know met with the daycare folks a couple of weeks ago. I followed up with them as well as part of mine, and yeah, just sort of they're experiencing difficulties adding children to their program, mostly because of a lack of qualified staff to provide for the provincial needs and for themselves. So I've offered my support any way I can to help them out with that. As of yet, nothing has come back with that. I'm going to be following up with Janet and seeing what we can do. They're also putting together their financial year-end report that will come to us shortly, which will open up some additional discussions as well. Earlier today, you should have seen an invitation from me, from everybody, to sign up for the Maintain X program that I think I talked about a couple of months ago that has been used in the facilities. That's just something that you can all have on an app or a desktop, whatever else. If you're walking around town and you see something in one of the facilities that needs to be taken care of, you can plunk it in there. It goes straight to me. It doesn't give me a warning on my phone. I do have to go and look at it. So if it's an emergency, please call me. I'll be happy to take care of it that way. But if it's just a maintenance item that needs to be taken care of, it's there for you. All staff, the same thing. It populates for me, and I'm able to track these changes and maintenance issues along the way as well. But instead of having just keep people in the facilities now, I'm going pretty broad with it, that basically district staff for everybody to have access and send that to me. So please have a look at that email and let me know if you have any questions. Along with the maintenance issues, the nest has got a bit of a roof leak that we're trying to take care of right now. It's coming through one of the smoke detectors. And speaking of smoke detectors, putting this in place, I know Daryl's had part of this too, is we'll be replacing pretty much all the smoke detectors in that building. For whatever reason, over the last month or so, they've all started to go off randomly, constantly, and beeping, whatever else. So the plan is to work with the chief and we're just with Brett and replace all those. A couple other smaller updates. Hook decor, the houseboat, we're working with Bylaw to start a portable sign in their parking lot. The basketball hoop with the Eagle River secondary. They've decided to install 2 hoops, but they're just getting a couple more quotes before they decide on exactly who they're going to go with. Again, I'll send an information up to date that when it's coming. Those are going to be installed in the tennis court closest to the Yarmouth property over there. And we most likely will remove that tennis net for on a temporary basis to allow the school classes and people to do full court basketball. I think we know pretty much by usage. I've never seen all 3 tennis courts in usage at the same time for tennis anyway. And we still have a portable pickleball net that we can use in there, that if people want to use that net, they'll be there. Security, I began discussions with Chubb Security for updates to District Hall, as well as other facilities. Had a bit of a discussion today with the mayor as well about cameras in different locations and things as vandalism is becoming an issue. Certainly will be taken consideration, although the security for this building and the others will be a larger project. We may want to look at cameras as being something separate that we do a little bit ahead of everything else. And finally, tying into the conversation we had a little bit earlier, I have a meeting next week set up with CSRD with all 3 have confirmed. Darcy Mooney, Ryan Nietzsche, and Jared Taylor will all be there. The goal of that meeting is not necessarily to talk about the rec center. We all know what the issues of the rec center are, but the CSRD and SICMOs have a lot of other things, other goals in common. We have a curling rink, we have other facilities, we have other things we do in the community, and I have not had the opportunity to talk to them about those things. So that's going to be the goal, is to broaden that discussion and find out what we can do with other things. I'm quite sure the rec center will come up in some point in that conversation, but that's not the goal of this one. The goal is to spread and find out what other things that we can be doing with them and partnering with what synergy we have. So that's it. That's my update. Any questions?
Jason, comments, questions? Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, sign up some of us up to help with that lunch on July 11th.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can go.
Thank you.
Right. Pauline, go ahead.
Wow, you guys, you're doing a great job. There's so much that if you're not involved in something or you're looking for something to do, or you're complaining about nothing to do. And yeah, exactly. You guys have covered just about everything, and thank you so much. I've reached out to Splat Scene as far as their canoe trip, their 25 canoes, and pulling them into Old Town Bay and using the parking lot to pick up their canoe people.
Yes.
Canoers.
Yes.
So I haven't heard back from them, but I've reached out to them, but
Thank you.
we'll see what happens.
Councilor Bush, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Interrupt. Okay.
Good work, Jamie and Jason. I got a lot of feedback on your program, and everybody loves it. And you guys are doing a great job, and I signed up for your maintenance X program.
Perfect.
Thanks very much.
All right, Jason, Jamie, this particular booklet and getting lots of response to it, and it's very well done, and it lays out a lot, and I'll be meeting with CBC and we'll be discussing some of this stuff within that contents of that booklet. Go ahead, Jason.
I just want to point out that if all the councilors don't know, that was actually printed in-house as well. That ourselves rather than tell somebody else to do it. So that was an in-house print. So we will continue to do that into the future.
Go ahead, Councilor Anderson.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to back up. Jamie, your July 30th barbecue, is that comparable to the one that we used to do in the? Okay, you can sign me up for, that's Saturday, right? Yeah, you can sign me up for my usual duty. I'll take that.
Have you and Evan paired together?
Yeah, I guess.
Game on.
I'll be prepared for code orange.
Code reds, prepare for code reds.
The bun guy.
You're the bun guy?
Let us go.
Beer fetcher.
It's idea.
All right, so we have to move on. So go ahead, Councilor
Just
McKay.
one quick question. Great work. I remember when we didn't have a rec program at all ever. And
I
we're-
know.
This is just huge.
Yeah,
Probably the best year ever. You renting the pickleball, the curling rink, the pickleball club for how much?
$200 a month. And they have it for 5 months.
Thousand bucks for five. That's a way more than the curling rink pays the curling club for sure there.
How was that?
Same building too, that's.
Don't bite.
One doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. They're less expensive than you.
There's a lot going on in rec and there's a lot going on with capital projects. And now we're going to move on to bylaw enforcement. And we'll go there and we'll see what John has to say and then we'll get into building development as well. And then finance. All right, okay, we'll get through this meeting by 10 o'clock tonight. All right, John, you're up.
Chair, is starting to pick up with complaints of unsightly premises for the spring. Many more come in since the report's been written, of course. Been doing more patrol down at the beach now that the weather warmed up and people are getting out. It's still fairly quiet out there in the evening. But as I say, it is picking up and people are not necessarily acting badly, but they're not being the good selves they should be. Council has any questions or comments?
Jeff, go ahead.
Through the chair, John, do you ever go out to the Husky like early in the morning? Like early in the morning, not because I've gone over there a couple times and I actually watched the guy throw his bag of garbage out into the ditch. And they should get a couple $1,000 fine for it, or towed or both, like it's.
Through the chair, the Husky is on my regular patrols, both early morning and late night. And I'm out there talking to the drivers and giving tickets as required.
Okay.
Mr. Evans, go ahead.
Thank you. How are we doing at recruiting extra help for John for the summer? Wondering how that's going.
Go ahead, Jim.
Posting went out today. So I believe it closes, I want to say June 22nd. So we're putting it out there and hoping that we can find someone. I contacted Okanagan College today and I'm asking them to distribute it out through their network. And I believe that Sean has also has a few key contacts. So really hoping that we can recruit somebody to be a community ambassador. That's the posting is for. And it's really flexible schedules. They'll work with whoever's willing to apply. So.
Thanks, Jen, for that update. Go ahead, John.
Chair, I also passed that posting on through my contacts with various emergency service departments to try and get a younger volunteer that's already working within their community to assist me.
All right, John, good job. Any other comments for John? All right, we'll move on. Thanks, John. All right,
Thanks, John.
Awesome. Thank you.
building development, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just an update on our current applications, a couple more tonight that we're getting to close to the end of. 3 or 4 new ones since the last meeting, but yeah, we're working through them and I'm available to answer any questions on the current applications.
Good. All right, any comments for Scott? All right, go ahead, Jeff.
Through the chair. So Scott, are we still on the 21-day working towards the 14-day turnaround? Like how close are you?
Yeah, so this is going back to the planning and development committee. We had a discussion that I think on building permit applications and just finding some efficiencies and I think we're working towards that. I haven't done analysis since the last one, but yeah, maybe I'll try and do that as a regular part of this update.
Okay, super tight. It's just that like there's no other communities doing 21 days. If it's got all the right paper. So we're way out in front of a few other groups.
All right, thanks. Any other comments for Scott? All right, thanks, Scott. Finance, Kelly, your report?
Yes. So I'm sure everybody is thrilled for a finance update after all those other updates. But I promise you, I will keep it brief, and I've got some charts for you to look at, which always makes it a little bit nicer, I think. So an update on property taxes for 2022. I don't normally do this, but I've got some stats and I thought I'd share it with everybody. I find it interesting. So here we go. So tax notices were mailed May 24th, in case you haven't noticed. I'm sure you've received yours. We sent out just over 2,700 tax notices. This is up 70 from the year before. So we've been getting lots of calls. The number one question, which is frequently the number one question, is why are my taxes so high? This year, really a lot of it has to do with the assessment value. If your house went up more than 38%, which is the average for the district of Sicamous, then your taxes will be higher. So now I've got a bunch of different graphs of different trends over the last 5 years. So this is the district of Sicamoos's total assessment value. So in 2018, it was 763 million, and congratulations, in 2022, we're at 1 billion. So we hit the 1 billion mark this year. This yellow is the increase year over year, and over 5 years, our total assessment base has increased 53%.
Wow.
So when we look at that, break that out between residential and business and other, you will see that really the bulk of that increase is residential. Residential is actually over 1 billion, and commercial and others increase isn't as much of an increase. Most of that increase in assessed value is residential. Residential assessment values make up about 90% of our total assessment base. So homeowners is what makes this community go around in terms of dollars. Number of tax folios that we have is just over 2,700. That's an increase of 123 new tax folios over the last 5 years. So all the graphs are going up, which is good for our community. The average single family residential assessment values from 2018 to 2022 have gone up about 71%. So from just over 285,000 to 488,000. The average single family, the amount of taxes paid. So this smaller graph is the municipal taxes. This larger is total taxes. So this is for an average residential based on your average assessment. So this 52 or 54 on the bottom, that's how much is actually municipal and how much is total. So in 2022, 1,700 was municipal, and then but we collect 3,200. That difference is what we pay to other agencies like the regional district, the province, MFA. There's a bunch of other taxes that we collect on everybody's behalf. The total property taxes collected for the municipality has grown from 7.6 million to 8.6 million. So in 5 weeks, we collect pretty much 95% of that 8.6 million. So we collect a lot of money in a very short period of time, of which the majority of that is in the last 2 weeks. So the last 2 weeks of June are really busy here. Okay, something new this year. For the first time ever, we have residential properties over $3 million. And so why do we care about that? Because it's not our rules, but the provincial rules, we have to charge an additional school tax on any residential property assessed over $3 million. So an additional 0.2 if you're between 3 million and 4 million, and then anything over is an additional 0.4. And that we just collect and we submit to the province. So in here, we've got a lovely map which highlights the 5 properties which are over the 3 million threshold of assessed value. Just thought that was an interesting nugget. And a few more other fun tax facts is that we have 4 properties that are owned by the province and government of Canada that they don't pay taxes, but we invoice them as if they were paying taxes. And that's the RCMP station, Canada Post, the liquor store, and the ambulance. And we collect about 32,000 from them. It's called property taxes in lieu, grants in lieu. We have 7 properties that have taken advantage of the revitalization tax program and 1 in process. But those 7 properties, we waive their municipal taxes. We've waived about 40,000 of municipal taxes for them this year. And then permissive tax exemptions, we have 9 not-for-profit organizations, and we've on 11 different properties waiving all the taxes. And so that's over $100,000 of taxes that are waived on those properties. Just a few more little facts. Online services was implemented in 2017. So that's where you can go online and put in your tax information and get a bunch of different details on it. 163 taxpayers have signed up and are receiving their tax notices online. So not a paper copy, which is just under 6% of our total tax folios. We're going to do a little bit of a blitz here in social media to try to get more people to sign up because it's almost $1. There's a lot of costs with the tax notice, paper, envelopes, postage, obviously. We've received 49 payments on the credit card in 2021. Remember when we set up the credit card payment? That was in 2018. So I haven't done 2022. I just did 2021 because 2022, we haven't received that many yet, but so 49. 418 taxpayers are registered for the monthly prepayment plan, and we get about $100,000 on the 15th of every month from that to keep cash flows going. We accept online payments currently for property taxes, utilities, and recreation services. And coming soon, you will be able to pay online for development permits, building permits, business license, and municipal tickets. So you will be able to add a payee on the bank, and then you can go right online and pay that. And I've got some little did you know facts, compliments of Wendy's research. She did this the other day. Do you have an idea of what province has the lowest taxes in all of Canada? Any guesses, or do you want me to just let you know?
Just tell us.
Okay, so BC actually has the lowest tax rate in all of Canada, significantly lower than all the other provinces. And I know it's shocking, but it also, taxes are also based on assessment values. And so our assessment values are probably higher than a lot of other provinces. And New Brunswick has the highest property tax rate in all of Canada, and it's significantly higher in New Brunswick. And Vancouver is the city with the lowest property taxes in all of Canada. But that's also because their assessment value is probably significantly higher than a lot of other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I will leave you with what I tell people. I don't pay taxes, I collect them. Just kidding. I actually don't say that. And thanks for listening.
Good job, Kelly. Excellent.
Question, Kelly, what percentage of our taxes go to the CSRD every year in their tax requisition?
What percentage? I don't know, but of the 8.6 million that we collect, I believe not for the hospital, because that's different. This year, I think it's around 650,000 that we collect on CSRD's behalf and pay them for the different functions.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions for Kelly?
Good job.
Very good job, Kelly. Great update. All right, where are we at here? Finance. Okay, that's it. So we're going on to E. So that's 5E. Project update. Councillor Bushel, this was brought to you.
I think Evan answered.
So go ahead.
Evan answered everything. I was just wanted an update on the housing, and he was talking about how things are going over there, you know, with the inspection and soil inspection and all that.
Yeah, just to echo earlier what I said, you know, I think kudos go out to both Habitat for Humanity and Eagle Valley Senior Citizens Housing. They are talking. Bill Miller, the executive director of Habitat for Humanity Kamloops, has been in contact with Eagle Valley on who they use for an architect. So they're having those discussions. And our consulting team for the Healing Center has been in contact with both BC Housing and Eagle Valley on sharing for geotech work. And also other economies of scale that we can participate in. But most importantly, I think we have a commitment from all three stakeholders, that's Habitat, Eagle Valley, BC Housing, and of course ourselves, to make that 3.5 acre parcel, including Eagle Valley's lands, pretty cool attainable housing project. And they're talking now, and that's positive. So I think kudos to both of those groups for coming forward and starting those conversations.
Right, any other comments? All right, so Andy, you're gonna be up in a while, it's just, and we got a few other things to go through, and then we'll get you up regarding your delegation. Okay, DOS strategic priorities, any of the councilors want to discuss any one of the strategic priorities at this stage? Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
Just on short-term rentals, met with Scott and Sarah last week, and they're just gonna make some tweaks, and I guess goes to Scott, is this correct? Scott.
Okay.
I just fell asleep, Colleen, when you're talking. I said we met last week, Gordon and Sarah and you and I met last week, and some details to short-term rentals, and it should be going to public consultation next, or
Yeah, I
what's the
think
next
we
steps.
still have a little bit of work to do on getting the forms and everything ready, but we'll get out to the public as part of our zoning bylaw public consultation. Yeah.
All right, any other comments? Councilor Monmouth, go ahead.
So before it goes to public consultation, we're gonna come back to you, the planning or the council.
Yeah, we could definitely bring it back to council. I think we have a bit of work to do first, so we'll
But
probably
it will come back to council before it goes out to council.
bring it back to Colleen.
All right, thanks, Scott. Anything else for the council would like to discuss? Okay, I'm gonna move on. Okay, so we're into the councilor's report. Councilor Bushel, you're up. All right.
We did. Yeah, just today we had our planning meetings, went pretty well today. We spent a fair amount of time on the mobile home setbacks and regulations. Colleen and I and Scott and Sarah met on June the 1st there in regards to the short-term rentals. Had a meeting today with Tourism Advisory Council meeting. That went really well today. We had a conversation on basically kiosk signs and things like that for the community. Well, been talking to Scott, Story Jason, Jamie about the Caribbean Club, and trying to get them in line for a new contract and everything. And you know, they're having some struggling pains over the last couple of years of COVID, so that's totally understandable because everybody else has had the same problem. Yeah, and then I wanted to just bring up, and everybody probably misses it, is we don't have Shuswap Lake Watch anymore. And I kind of reached out to Deborah because I know Bernard doesn't want to be contacted, but I mean, that was a great service that he provided for the community. And I know he did sell advertising, but I don't know if there's any way it can be re-erected or come back. Once Deborah gets back to me, I just reached out to her yesterday, and I'll be hearing something back pretty soon. But Shuswap Lake Watch is a pretty valuable, website that we could refer back to over the years. And it's actually, the website's completely down now. I think he became sick, probably a month ago or something, and didn't update it. And then now it's completely off the screen. So hopefully we can see how things are going and maybe re-erect it. I think that's all I have.
Thanks. Counselor Anderson, you're next.
Tomorrow is the Chambers AGM at 6:30. So, I've been the liaison, with the Chamber for, I think the last since we started. So, this is probably my last year as Chamber liaison. So, it's been we've seen the Chamber grow from a small entity to supporting our community really well. So, I mean, we've worked really well with it and they've worked really well with us. So hopefully the next liaison will report back and work with the Chamber well as well. I attended the Shuswap watershed, Shuswap Lake Watershed Council meeting this morning. And we did discuss the Shuswap Lake watch Bernard site and are hoping that maybe somebody will pick up the ball and run with it. It's not something that the Shuswap Lake, the watershed can do, but are hoping that there's a private individual out there that wants to step up and take over. One of the concerns that came up today in the watershed council meeting was Engelmont is thinking of shutting down their pump out. So if Engelmont shuts out their pump out, which is for houseboats and cruisers and things like that, we are left with, I don't think any on the lake, on the Shuswap Lake. So the council is going to write a letter and advocate for the BC parks to pick up the ball again, because there used to be pump out at, or you probably know this better than I do, at the Narrows. There was a boat pump out there.
Yeah, they used to have one there, but of course it's, back in the day, you could get away with pumping it up the mountain. Now it's got to go somewhere. So unless they truck it or not truck it, boat it.
So,
Yeah, so there was one there, a manual operated one.
yeah, so I mean, that's going to be a problem because if you come into town, I think Three Boys is the only place in town that still pumps out. Daryl, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's just Three Boys. And Old Town Bay. So a lot of cruisers and a lot of houseboats that need to be pumped out, and I don't know where they're going. Because they're not coming to Old Town Bay. We do get a few that Twin Acres will take in, we'll want to make an appointment, but there needs to be more, and it's gonna become a code red. Also just going over our UBCM resolutions, I'm glad to see that our paid protesters made it to UBCM resolutions. As well, I asked Jen today to let me know what happened to our resolutions that went to SILGA and UBCM last year. I just wanted to know what happens with resolutions once they get to UBCM and they endorse them and go yay, and then where do they go? So they do go back to the province. And on the quagga and the zebra mussel issue, they are not going to, the province is not going to increase the fine for going through a water inspection station. But they are considering and recognizing that clean, drain, and dry being mandatory when moving your boat from one body of water to another is, it's been successfully implemented in other jurisdictions. So it's under active consideration. So I would like to ask council for another support letter that we forward to the province and support clean, drain, and dry before you, although it's our resolution. Just moving it forward. I think it should be standard across Canada. I don't think there's a BC issue. It's a federal issue. So I'd like to give them a gentle nudge again, because I don't know if this ends up on the cutting room floor here or it just stays in the system and churns. So
what we might recommend is that this resolution go forward to FCM as well. All right, okay.
do we get it? And excuse my ignorance, but when it gets to the province here, don't they forward it to FCM or do we?
Oh, you got to push it to FCM. So when a resolution goes through UBCM and it's endorsed, then we need to put pressure on the province as well. And so because the resolution being endorsed by the membership of UBCM sometimes, or for the better part doesn't get recognized. So we have to follow up on it and put the ministry to task on whatever it is that we're trying to suggest. So, and this Quagga Mussel thing is important. It seems like they're starting to relax a little bit on it, and we got to keep on them. I agree with what you're trying to accomplish there. So,
Well, it's going to be like, and I keep saying that, tourism's going to be affected, businesses are going to be affected. It's going to be a gong show. And
can't let it
the
happen.
way to eradicate them, it's just a maintenance program that's going to cost businesses millions and the province millions. So I think we should push forward to send it to FCM, I guess.
All right.
And
Your report, or you want?
I just have a correction. Tomorrow, the Chambers of Commerce AGM is at 5:30. So anyone in the gallery that's interested in becoming a board member or wanting to be part of that, 5:30 tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Councilor McCabe.
Thank you. Yeah, not much to report. District of Sycamore, I attended the District of Sycamore's Housing Committee meeting. And it's come along good. We're just developing our baseline to bring recommendations forward to council. And attended the zoomed in on the planning meeting this morning. That's about it.
Good. Councilor Aries.
I attended the same housing meetings Malcolm did, and they're ran by our planner, Sarah Martin, and they're so interesting. If you tune into the YouTube video, you'll probably watch it twice. Sarah put on a heck of a meeting. We asked a lot of questions about densification, and she had a lot of slides that saved a lot of reading as well. So it's pretty condensed. There's a lot of really good designs that can help to maybe provide opportunities for developers to build a little denser in our community. So that we can maintain our current form and character while getting lower housing prices on some units available.
Thank you. Councilor Malmus.
Not too much to report, just a couple of comments. One of my strategic things is the community forest, and although we had some discussions with our partners, but nothing seems to move forward with that. And today we were informed by the rail trail. They've canceled all the meetings till September 12th. And that's disappointing. Like, there's still things that need to be addressed. I don't know how you address them with no meetings. So they think
All right, I attended the Alzheimer's event in Vernon, and they asked me to speak there on behalf of the District of Sycamore when it comes to dementia, and it was well attended. There was probably 400 or 500 people. Jen and her husband Curtis joined me, and lots of really good discussion. And I mentioned the fact that one of our priorities at one stage was to be a dementia-friendly community, and we got really good response to that. I do feel that maybe somewhere along the line that we should be able to donate something into the Alzheimer's program, and so we can maybe I attended the ball tournament this weekend, and once again it was well run. Jake, we could the last 3 games got rained out, but I think, well, they had 12 teams, so down it was incredibly talented teams that were playing. I attended the grad ceremony. I was able to speak there, and there was 20 grads. Once again, the District of Sycamore stepped up. $35,000 worth of grant money was offered up by the community, so that was pretty amazing. I was invited to Parksville Elementary. We supported them when it comes to their buddy bench, and they now have the buddy bench going, and a young lady in grade 4, I believe, Hazel, was the one that brought it to everybody's attention, and she was part of that process and did a really nice job of her speech. I was quite impressed. So anyway, sent out I think over 100 community champion certificates to different people in the community that volunteer their time. Quite amazing when you take all of the different projects that are going on and the different things that are happening, how many people volunteer in the community. Also attended the Twin Anchors boathouse with the Royal Canadian Marine Search and Rescue Group. And we stepped up and we're very instrumental in having that boathouse built here and part of our own marina is being used in order to support the entire Shuswap. The meeting with the CSRD the other day with Jody and with Kevin Flynn as well, I think went really well for us. And we did talk about the tax requisition and how important Sycamoose is to Shuswap Lake, and Colleen just emphasized some of it. But a major amount of our tax requisition is to support the water quality in the Lake Shuswap watershed. Advisory committee, milfoil thing and search and rescue and all of the different things. So lots going on. I will be really happy to see that bridge finalized over the Eagle River. And what's really interesting to me is now the amount of traffic that's going over the bridge, especially with the trucking, with Walmart trucking. And every time that I go across the bridge and I'm either in front or behind a couple of trucks, and so it'll be nice to see that bridge being built out. And once it's done, Daryl, okay, completed and whatnot, we're going to be more than happy to cut a ribbon. And I think maybe you should be holding on to the scissors as well for what you've done in that particular project. Anyway, that's my report. So now recommendation that the committee of the whole now rise and report. So we've done that. So I need a mover on that. Councillor Malmus, Councillor Aries, all in favor. Okay, done. Is there anybody online that has their hand up that would like to make a statement or ask a question?
Deb Heap does. Deb Heap.
Oh, Deb Heap, you got the floor, Deb.
Okay, yeah, so it's been a challenging few weeks, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick update because there's some pretty exciting stuff happening. First, big shout out to Daryl and staff. They've been doing just a tremendous job. And I wanted to give a big shout out to Parkland Home Hardware. When they found out that I had to remove my feature garden south of the Red Barn, I got a text from Ryan Tancock and they said they wanted to come in and plant out all the planters in front of the Red Barn. So that was it was very touching. That made me feel quite good. Next week, I am going to be helping to get all of those hanging planters out to the businesses. So things will be looking a bit better there. And I found out from the Arts Council that they've got 7 of their sunflower themed art boards ready for me to start putting up around town. So I talked to Daryl a bit about that before, and I'll touch base with him about where we're going to put those. And so, yeah, and the other thing I want to mention, well, I'm really excited because my super volunteer Anna Marg is back. So that's going to help on the weeding front and that. But I also wanted to mention that we are on Canada's Garden Route website now, and it's actually a very nice bit on Sycamoose. So it's something you might want to take a look at. So other than that, that's about it. So I'm back next week and I'm going to be going hard for the next few weeks. So things are starting to look really good.
Deb, thank you very much. Any comments or questions for Deb at this stage? Go ahead, Councillor McCabe.
I know you had a few hard weeks or 2 or 3 hard weeks, but I just want to extend out my appreciation for all the hard work you do, because I'm sure there's way more people that appreciate you, guaranteed, than those who don't. So thank you for all your work, Deb.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Right, any other comments? Go ahead, Brian.
I'm just wondering if anybody in the district is taking a look at what the traffic implications might be once that development takes place down in Old Town Bay.
Do a traffic study.
Yeah, because if we get 300 some sites down there.
Yeah.
I can see backlogs, particularly with trains and approach to Trans-Canada with the trucks from Walmart. A lot of times it's even difficult to make a right-hand turn, let alone those guys trying to make a left-hand turn during the summertime. So
I think
that's something that we ought to be taking a look at seriously. And I mean, even what's going to happen with trains that tie up traffic for five minutes if you've got 380 some people down the road. I don't know how many of them are going to be traveling, but that's what I think you got to be taking a look at.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a concern. I can see that happening right now. I think the main concern will be with the Ministry of Transportation. Maybe Malcolm can elaborate a little bit on this when it comes to the entrance from the Trans-Canada Highway, because that's where I see bottlenecks all the time. But I'm not so sure it'll be as onerous as once the bridge is open, because now we've got stop and start there and whatnot. But there's going to be a lot more traffic on that part of the road or part of the community, and especially when the bridge is built. It's starting to happen now. I mean, you can see the development out there with Greg Darrell and out at Old Town Bay. So it's going to be a busy road without question. I don't know how we're going to be able to adjust any of the traffic flow on it. Apart from my main concern will be the Trans-Canada Highway in that intersection. Malcolm, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's when a highway goes through any municipality, it's an arterial, but it's still the responsibility of the official government and when they do their traffic studies, they look at level of service for their highway, not for our side roads, but for their highway. And as long as their highway, the Trans-Canada is functioning, there's no red flags. The last time they did a traffic impact study in our corridor, it showed roads like Rama Crescent and Canby South Squaw on a scale of A to F, and F is a failure, and anything below D is non-functional. And they had, I think, Roma Crescent in there as a E or a D, and same as Canby South Squaw. But they don't care, and I'll say that openly because it's not their road. So they won't react until they have a problem. They won't react to our problem. They won't react until they have a problem. And so as we approve developments like this Best Western facility, it's a 6-story building just off the Trans-Canada, going to create a lot more traffic. And we approved a Walmart, a truck exchange in our industrial park, and 7-Eleven. And any building under 5,000 square feet, I think it is, doesn't trigger approval from MOT. So we can keep approving restaurants along the highway, hotels, and it doesn't trigger any approval required from MOT. I'm fairly close there, I think, Scott. And so we're just going to continue to grow until the Trans-Canada becomes a problem, because our side roads are already a problem and they're aware of it, and it's not on the radar. Since I've been in council, this is my 8th year here now. We've been pushing for a 4-lane footprint of what it's going to look like through the arterial, through the end of our district boundary. Basically, design the next 4-lane section. We don't want it built right away. We just need it designed so developers can build around that and our community can grow around that. We can help protect that through our OCP, but highways has always failed to do that. With the current Broome Bridge project, we have enticed the Ministry of Transportation to expand their scope eastward, because right now their scope stops pretty much at Silver Sands. It peters out to just before the intersection of Highway 97 and Trans-Canada. We've got Jennifer Fraser Green. She's the project director. To get Jennifer Stites, the project manager, to expand the scope of the Broom Bridge project out to Rama Crescent, I believe, Evan.
Yes.
Right, so during, and we're expecting that to be done this fall, so we should get updated information on how their highways and our side roads are functioning as Broom Bridge project. So we don't have the capacity as a small community to do those kind of analysis, but the ministry's promised to do that as part of the Broom Bridge project to expand the scope eastward to up through to Rama Crescent. That'll give us a snapshot this fall of, I hate to say it, but how bad things are. We already know it's bad on our side roads, but again, I say MOT doesn't care until they have a problem.
All right, I hope that helps, Brian. I know it's definitely concerning and, sometimes we're creatures of the province and that's a prime example of it. All right, any other hands up, Jim? Okay, none, then we're going to carry on. So now, Andy, you have an opportunity, one of the music festival and the challenges that it faces now, so go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening,
Right there, Andy. Yeah, thanks.
council members, staff, Mr. Labouré, and all the citizens online. I have a quick presentation to show you a little bit of an update on Monashee Music Festival taking place July 22nd, 23rd at the Sycamore Dog Park. So just start with the, hopefully you've seen that around town a little bit for the marketing.
Yeah.
We have our schedule lined up here from noon till midnight for the noise bylaw curfew extension. So thank you very much for that. We're looking to have 5440 as a headliner along with Daniel Wesley on the Friday night. We've got the Midnight Echo, Spendo just won the Vancouver Band of the Year. Emily Malloy out of Vancouver. Wiseman just canceled yesterday. Unfortunately, they got a job in Chile and they'll be doing back and forth. Dr. Friday out of Alberta, and then Saturday's country focus. Tyler Joe Miller, the headliner, he's got 4 platinum songs out in just the last couple of years. He spends a lot of time helping build houses in Nicaragua and areas like that with his church. David James, Cal McKierney, Born Reckless from the island, Devin Cooper from Alberta, Michael Daniels, he was just on Canada's Got Talent. Beamer Wigley out of Kelowna, West Kelowna. We got Tegan Gaze, she's an up and coming artist out of the Okanagan, and she's spending lots of time in Nashville, as well as Michaela Goff. So that's exciting news coming to Sycamore. Here's a quick rundown of the Saturday night lineup, giving an idea of the artists coming to town here.
Sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. Yes, I guess I live down, hands up with stars up in the sky. Get lost in the just like tonight, yeah, that's the I don't wanna be the talk of the town. Never wanna stray far away. I don't wanna be the talk of the town. I never wanna stray far away. 'cause you know what to say about it. Take a little longer than I get a little messed up. Get you out of my head, but I gotta like it. Boy, I feel a little bit drunk. I ain't that forces, started with pockets, now I can get over it. Baby, it's a feeling, make it got me off. Go out and shake it. Slow down. We can take time, y'all like to do right in slow town. Tell you what you need, what you feel, real good, forget about. Out there, broke your heart, oh, not a bad stuff. Why can't you stop me enough? I can't love you enough for the both of us. Why can't you let down your guard and just be who you are for the both of us? And I can't change, they're all the same. Just a bunch of guys feeding me lies, but that's alright. I'll make it. So we're proud to say that we have all Canadian lineup for the first inaugural year here. Most of the artists are from BC, so we're very supportive of BC artists and musicians from the area. We have 3 indigenous artists lined up. So Tegan Gates is Métis, Kyle McKierney is Métis as well, and he's up for Indigenous Artist of the Year through Breakout West. And he just got that surprise today. And then DJ Bono, who will be spinning tunes between the artists, so that's exciting. The Monastery team we put together of a lot of experienced people. So I have to move closer here. Some of you might have met our sound engineer before, Forrest, who did a presentation, unfortunately passed away during COVID. So he lined up the front of house Pro Audio out of Edmonton. He found that they were the best price. They had the newest equipment and just the most reliable. They do a lot of Live Nation events. And he said they're the best, so I just take his word. Okanagan Entertainment, they do a limo service out of Kelowna. Good friend of mine, Kirk. He's 40 years in the hospitality industry, very reliable. He's good with people and honest person. Mike Dinger is a production manager for us. He's Honeymoon Suite, Prism, Lee Aaron, Street Heart, Harlequin, lots of experience. And we're happy to have him as a team member. Sherry Anderson, stage crew. She's done tons of Live Nation and arena events and festivals. Brad Clements, stage crew as well. Done the same thing, lots of the major events across Western Canada. Security, we have 2 retired RCMP members, CBSA members, and 1 current RCMP member that's joining our Monastery team as security. Alan Clark, Brenda Sinet, and Riley Jackson. Cindy Hewitt, she's been doing a lot of the sponsorship reach out in the community. You might have heard from her. A lot of you are small business owners and or know someone that is. She's 25 years with customer service and sales. Stephanie Stephenson, 9 years in the festival environment, organizing everything from food trucks to the bands and logistics, safety, security. So lots of experience with up to 10,000 guests at outdoor festivals. Anita Hamilton just came on board in the last couple of weeks here. She's the youngest member of the BC Country Music Association of all time. She just graduated from TRU in Kamloops. And we're eager to have her on board. She's ready to get to work and help us logistically to make sure this is a safe, fun event for everyone. So safety and security, the CSRD Fire Services, Sean has agreed to have some members of the community. I'm also a member of the Scotch Creek Volunteer Paid On Call Department. We're gonna have a command truck on site with a couple members, minimum, and more than likely more than that.
with their fire protection and also first aid and fire extinguishers for the stage and anywhere that might need it. Safety and security, moving on to Salmon Arm Security. Prasad is the owner and manager, and we were dealing with Mike, who unfortunately just passed away a couple months ago. And now Prasad has come to be our contact. He's works out of Salmon Arm and Kamloops and has over 60 members. He said if we're not busy enough, he's able to send members home that we've already agreed to, which is excellent for us just starting out. If we have too many security and not enough people throwing money away. BC Emergency Health Services, Robbie from town here has agreed to do naloxone training for all our volunteers and crew, as well as anyone that wants to get involved and learn more about providing that service for someone that may need it. We feel it's an important thing to have for the festival. You never knew. It only takes one overdose to hopefully save someone's life. We don't want that in the first place, but it comes with the territory. Traffic control, we've got Gina through Stand in the Gap. She's been a huge help organizing the traffic control and safety plan, which has been approved through Modi. And she's got friends with AIM Road Construction who've agreed to help as well. We're going to have the traffic safety signs on either side of the highway coming into town, warning people that there's pedestrians and that there's a music festival happening and to slow their speed. Modi's agreed to drop the speed limit down by 10 kilometers an hour. So we're going to do that with signage and we're going to utilize the roundabout, handle as much of the traffic flow as we can and no right turn up the Slow Squaw Sycamoose Road to mitigate any problems there with traffic control persons in place. It's hard to see on this map, but I'm happy to send it to anyone that might want to have a closer look. Citizens might be online. Our goal is number one, safety. You can see the dog park in the blue there, and the parking along Hillier, sorry. We had additional parking lined up, and we've had challenges with the ALC, as many of you know. District, the vast majority of it's in the ALC land, and it's been very frustrating and challenging. We were approved for use of camping and parking. And then we asked for a signature on that, and it went above them to get the signature, and then they disapproved it because the District of Sycamoose has an agreement, a 5-year agreement in place, which expires in September, I believe. So maybe something we can work on for the future to have a better agreement in place. And we're looking to come back for the long term. So it'd be great if we can all sit down and somehow figure something out for that and beneficial for any events coming to town, bringing tourists here. What we have reached out to Craig Kylo. He's offered up some his land at TA Structures for parking, which is nice. It's nice and close. And it's on that side of the highway, which the RCMP Sergeant McNeil really wanted to see, and I agree with them. Have as much as we can on the north side. Mr. Labouré and many other citizens offered up their land and for parking and camping. He gave me a really good tour, and so did some of the other neighbors when we reached out to them looking for that. Unfortunately, we're not able to utilize that for the ALC rules. But that was one of my questions for council today, was to utilize the TA Structures, and I believe that Greg's reached out to council as well, or Mr. Mayor. Food trucks and vendors, we have 3 food trucks and 20 small business vendors. If you know of any friends, family members, or small businesses that might want to get involved, we're happy to have them. It's a very minimal fee of $200 for the weekend. We want the people with the knickknacks, the pottery, bracelets, you know, if you're just starting a small business, we want to make it very easy to get involved and be community oriented. Mamas for Mamas, we've agreed to donate $1 from every drink sold in the beverage gardens to Mamas for Mamas. They have over 30 locations across Canada. They help out in the shoe swap here as well. Any guardians or parents that can't afford or are going through challenging times, put diapers on their kids, food problem, shortage right now. They're helping with that. And, I've met the founder. She's very gung ho. She's a very likable person. She's honest. She works 24/7 at her passion, which is helping single parents. There's also an opportunity for people to donate when they're purchasing their tickets. The neighbors' blessings, we had a letter done up. We reached out to all the neighbors along Sycamore Road. They were very supportive. We offered them free tickets for the event. They in turn offered camping for us. Some of them wanted to jump on board as volunteers. They offered first aid and had full support, which was surprising for us, and nice positivity coming in. In progress. So I already mentioned a few things with the parking solution. Hopefully we have that and we can announce that on our social media and our website, make sure everyone's well aware of it. Liquor license. So Sergeant McNeil, it's in his inbox. I spoke with him 2 days ago. He was having challenges with figuring that out, but we're going to get that figured out in the next few days. I need that before insurance will go ahead with anything. That's something we're working on as well. And then also to include obviously all the food trucks and the inflatables that we're going to have there from Salmon Arm. Interior health communication, we're in communication with them, and obviously with the summer, the heat is a major importance. We're going to have lots of water on site, free of charge in the first aid tent for anyone that may need it. It's also going to be for sale, but it's free if anyone actually needs it. And we're going to make sure people are well hydrated if possible, as well as looking out for one another through security, first aid, and the fire services and volunteers. Camping, Shane Yarmaloy's, you've probably already heard, offered up his site for camping. That's in the hands of the district of Sycamore. I believe Shane believes he has something grandfathered in, and I don't know all the details on that. But it would be, we don't have a lot of people lined up for camping at this point, fortunately and unfortunately, because we could sell a lot more tickets with the camping in place. Logistics planning, that's going on every day right now. We have a safe, fun event. And we're just organizing all our volunteers. We have over 40 signed up right now. We're going to go through them to make sure they're the right type of people, not just looking to take advantage of a free ticket, or, you know, we want to make sure it's a safe place for everyone. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the festival. The big thing for us is the camping, the parking, which just recently we found out that we didn't have the parking anymore through the ALC, so we're trying to mitigate that problem as soon as possible. Bridge construction, which I heard about earlier in Daryl's presentation, looks like it'll be ready and finished. I just drove across this afternoon and it's starting to look really good. Excited about that. Local promotions, my ask for the district of Sycamore would be to help promote the event. It's bringing in hopefully lots of tourism, and we're here for the long term. So if we can get on your socials, I see you promote a lot of the other small businesses. That'd be awesome. And yeah, open to answer any questions at this time.
Councillor Malma, you're up.
Through the chair. So I heard about the capping with at Shade Yarmaloy's and the issue with that. And so I actually reached out in a text message to Greg Darrell, who's suggested that he has spoken with you. And so I actually talked with him, and if you went back to your map, his property is just above where you had that hatched in area you hope to use. So it's that piece above it that they're putting mobile homes into.
Great. Yeah, with the boiler plate.
Yeah. And so he said he's happy to help you as long as it doesn't cost him anything. So if you've got to mow the grass over there towards the Hiller Road, towards this Cabby Southwell Road.
And that would be ideal as it's on the.
It's on the highway side and it's not ALR.
And if the district approves of that, I'd love to move forward with that.
So have you talked to him then?
We have in the past, yeah. We had that whole section that was a little bit closer lined up as well. I'd speak with Greg again tomorrow and shoot an email to the district.
Do anything in regards to that? Okay, good. Go ahead, Councilor McGinn.
Yeah, I was just gonna say what the mayor was asking our corporate officer. A private deal that you do with Greg Darrell, you don't need our approval on that. That's just a private arrangement between you and a property owner. It is convenient because it's on this side of the tracks and north side of the highway, so people won't have to go wait for a train or cross Highway 1. So
right,
it doesn't look like it's gonna create any safety issues that we might be there. I'm concerned of at least. It would just be a private arrangement. And then you say that this traffic management plan is approved by Ministry of Transportation?
right.
That's not easy to do. So.
Go ahead, Jeff.
The other thing, MOTI gave you a kilometer-an-hour speed limit reduction. That's that for 10 years. And they wouldn't give us the time of day. So
It helped when I hired the Stand in the Gap to do up these maps, exact layout of what we wanted. I don't, you probably did that in the past, but I believe that helped with dropping the speed limit. And I also put in a write-up about the importance of the safety of people crossing the highway during the event, so.
good for you. Well, no, like I said, I reached out to Greg and Greg's happy to help you.
Higher end.
Look home. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I have to commend you for your persistence on this and to make it happen, and regardless of what took place with the Agricultural Land Commission. I'm not very happy about that, their decisions on that, because that could impact us, for future events and I mean, we need to get parking in it somehow. So you do have some options when it comes to Twin Anchors and the industrial site there. And then with Greg Darrell, they're willing to help you. Probably next year, that probably won't be available for us, but we've got some challenges there with the Agricultural Land Commission. And I don't understand their thinking on this at all, but I mean, we are challenged by it, and but you're moving forward with this, and I have to commend you. We want this festival here in Sycamus one way or another, and I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult when it comes to the Yarmalloy property, and then people having to go up the highway and then across the highway into the festival. So, and I have to say that if you can make a deal with Yarmalloy, well, that's okay too, but I think it's going to be a little bit more onerous when it comes to the RCMP and so forth. So anyway, good luck with that, and we're hoping, however, and I, keep in touch with Jason, and let's see if we can make this happen one way or another. It's a great lineup. I'm looking forward to that lineup, as I really appreciate country and Western music. So anyway, let's see where it goes. Thank you. Any more questions?
Evan and Gord.
Oh, just on, you know what, Andy, on behalf of all the staff, you have done an amazing job.
Really?
A lot of work has gone into this. We've seen a lot of events being proposed in the last 7 years I've been here, and longer for some counselors. This is probably the most comprehensive. You've got the entire community behind you trying their best, led by residents like Bryant and the owner across the dog park, who was saying, they want to participate. And then we went up against the ALC. You've been determined to make this happen. It's a risk after coming off COVID in the first year. I just want to thank you. You've been easy to deal with. You've been very transparent. I think the public is, I know the public is entirely behind this, and the RCMP is looking forward to working with you, but tremendous work. You've got a great team behind you, and it shows. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Any other comments?
Yeah, through the chair, Andy, how's, we'd like to help as much as we can with their social media. I'm not your Jen and Sarah and Kelly can help us with that, I guess. But how's the ticket sales so far?
We're lacking right now. We're around 600. We've given away 600 to fundraisers, charity events, some of our sponsors. Usually we typically see about 20% of our giveaways. A lot of them are out of town. So more along the lines of a promotion. But also to raise money for charities. Some people will buy the tickets and they won't show up. So.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Well, we want you to be successful because your success is our success. And I know you've done a tremendous amount of work and we've been challenged and this thing out of the blue with the Agricultural Land Commission, I don't get it, but anyway, we're going to keep working towards, getting them on board with us because it's really important. This is the first year for this and we'd like to see it continue year after year and so we also have some challenges and so, but anyway, we have to commend you for, you've done a lot of work on this and you haven't given up on us. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really enjoy the people in the community and working with the staff here.
Okay.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Looking forward to it. All right, moving on, public and statutory hearings. We have two hearings here today. The first public hearing is in regards to the Parkville development. I'm going to have Scott speak on behalf of the development, but first off, I'm going to read out the public hearing and we'll see if anybody's going to respond to it. So at this public hearing, council will consider an application for a zoning bylaw text amendment for property zone R1A urban single family residential to Parksville development. The zoning bylaw amendment will be introduced by staff presenting a brief synopsis of the proposal. Following the introduction, I will open the floor to presentations by the public. Okay, so do we have anybody online that would like to, and I don't think there's anybody in the gallery.
Scott.
Okay, I'm going to ask a second time.
What Scott's gotta do is.
I have to read my part.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
At this public hearing, council will consider District 6 zoning bylaw amendment number 1020/2022, an application for a zoning bylaw text amendment that will apply to properties located in the R1A urban single family residential zone located at Parksville Street. The text amendment would amend section 6012C2 rear setback for single family dwelling from 6 meters to 5 meters. Public invited to make presentations to council, and all persons who believe their interest in properties affected by the proposed amendment shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed amendment bylaws. Please direct all your comments through the chair. Members of council may, if they wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council is to listen to views of the public. It's not the function of council after this hearing to debate the merit of the proposal with individual citizens. Please observe these rules. And if you have any concerns with the manner in which the hearing is conducted, direct your comments to the chairperson. Everyone shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at this hearing. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making his or her views known. If you'd like to make a presentation, raise your hand. If you're attending through Zoom to speak during the meeting, please click the hand icon to raise your hand electronically, and you'll be in the queue to speak. Your final opportunity to comment on the proposed amendment will be during the hearing, as members of council are not permitted to receive further submissions after close of the hearing. Again, please direct all your comments to the chair by raising your hand electronically, raising your hand to speak, and I will now present a synopsis of the application.
Okay.
This is an application. It's for the Parkville Street areas. Council issued a development variance permits for some of the properties that needed building permits back in April, and the first and second reading to the bylaw in May. So the properties are zoned resident or designated residential in the official community plan, and then they're zoned R1A, which is a unique zone for this development. So the proposal is to amend the zoning bylaw and for this zone only. And the rear setback for single family dwellings from 6 meters to 5 meters. We sent this out for consultation to the different agencies. We didn't hear back from building official or the bylaw officer with any concerns. Planning and Development Committee recommended that council give the bylaw a first reading. Engineering technologists had no objections. However, there is a statutory right of way behind the properties that we need to ensure is maintained. And the fire department did say it affects the interest of the fire department. When you reduce setbacks, you reduce the ability for the fire department to fight fires. Two ads were pasted in the newspaper, and we sent no, for these ones, we didn't have to notify landowners because the number of properties involved and the fact that it's text amendment, but we didn't hear anything back from the public.
All right. Okay, so do we have anybody that would like to respond to this?
No hands are raised.
Okay, nobody wants to respond. All right. So can we close the actual hearing then?
Call 3 times and then.
All the second time? Don't see any hands up. Call a third time. All right, and I declare this public hearing closed. Thanks, Scott. So then we can move on to the second one. Want to take it from there?
You'll have this picture read.
Okay, I have this in front of me again. Okay, public hearing opening statement, District of Sycamore Amendment bylaw number 10/20/2022. At this public hearing, council will consider an application for zoning bylaw text. Okay, at this public hearing, council will consider an application for a zoning bylaw amendment for properties located at 506 and 508 Capel Street. The zoning bylaw amendment will be introduced by staff presenting a brief synopsis of the proposal. Following the introduction, I'll open the floor to presentation by the public. Go ahead, Scott.
This public hearing, council will consider district's zoning amendment bylaw number 10/21/2022. An application for a zoning bylaw amendment that will apply to properties located at 506 and 508 Capel Street, legally described as strata lots 1 and 2, district lot 497, Kamloops Division, Yale District, strata plan KAS 2281. Bylaw amendment would add to the section 6014 other regulations the following. B, a secondary suite shall be maintained in the same real estate entity as the principal dwelling unit to which is accessory. And C, despite section 6014A, strata lot 1 and 2, district lot 497, Kamloops Division, Yale District, strata plan KAS 2281, together with an interest in the common property in proportion to the unit entitlement, the strata lot is shown on Form B, each have one secondary suite. Public are invited to make presentations to council, and all persons who believe their interest in property affected by the proposed amendment shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed amendment bylaws. Please direct all your comments to the chair. Members of council may, if they wish, ask questions to you following your presentation. However, the main function of council is to listen to the views of the public. It's not the function of council at this hearing to debate the merits of the proposal. Individual citizens, please observe these rules, and if you have any concerns with the manner in which the hearing is conducted, direct your comments to the chairperson. Everyone shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard at this hearing. No one will be or should feel discouraged or preventing from making his or her views known. If you'd like to make a presentation, raise your hand. And through Zoom to speak during the meeting, please click on the hand icon to raise your hand electronically, and you will be in the queue to speak. Final opportunity to comment on the proposed amendment bylaws will be during the hearing, as members of the council are not permitted to receive further submissions after the close of the hearing. Again, please direct all your comments to the chair by raising your hand electronically or raising your hand to speak. I will now provide a synopsis of the application. So this is bylaw number 10/21/2022. So this applies to an existing duplex on 508 Capel Street. So it's 506 and 508, I believe, Capel Street. The property is designated low density residential and is zoned R1 and R2 single and 2 family residential. Here's a air photo showing the property in question. So you can see the roof and you can see the peak of the roof splits the duplex in half. You can see the parking provided on either side. And here's the drawing showing the properties. So it's a duplex, and then each half of the duplex has a secondary suite in it. So it's essentially a fourplex. So right now in the zoning bylaw, there's in the R1 and 2 zone, there's a section 6014, and it says a secondary suite is not permitted in the 2-family dwelling. So these 2 suites were constructed likely without building permits, and it would be considered a non-conforming use. So this bylaw amendment would legitimize that non-conforming use. And they're looking to add those two sections, 6014B and 6014C, which would allow for each house in the duplex to have their own secondary suite. We sent this out for consultation. Neighboring property owners received letters in the mail. It was posted in the newspaper. And then we sent it out for the referrals. Ministry of Transportation said their preliminary approval is granted. No objection to tell us. Planning Development Committee recommended bylaws receive first and second reading. Building official pointed out a building permit would be required. Bylaws had no concerns. The engineering technologist said the services may need to be upsized because when the properties were built, they would have been built for services for 2 units, not necessarily 4 units. So that would come out during probably the building permit process, and we didn't get a response from the fire department. Sorry, my presentation is over.
That end.
All right, any hands up?
There are no hands up.
All right, I'm gonna call a second time. And I'm gonna call a third time for anybody that would like to speak on this particular
Still no hands.
public hearing. None? Okay, I declare this public hearing closed as well. Thanks, Scott. So now, was there a resolution in that? The district of Sycamore zoning bylaw number? Okay.
Right here.
Right there, okay. Zoning amending bylaw number 1020/2022, 711 Parksville Street. Recommendation that the district of Sycamore is considered district of Sycamore zoning amendment bylaw number 1020/2022 for third reading as presented this June 8th, 2022. I need a mover on this. Councillor Malmus, Councillor Carries. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, I call the question. All those in favor? Unanimously. Right, so the second one, zoning amendment, bylaw number 1021/2022, 506 and 508 Capel Street, third reading. Recommendation that the district of Sycamore was considered the district of Sycamore zoning amendment bylaw number 1021/2022 for third reading as presented this June 8th, 2022. I need a mover on this. Councillor Bushel, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Any comments or questions?
Scott, sorry, you said that they had sent letters out to the neighbors. I'm sorry, I missed the response on that. What was the feedback?
Didn't receive any response.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna call a question on the resolution. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right. So council procedure amending bylaw number 1015/2022 for adoption. Recommendation of the district of Sycamore council procedure amending bylaw number 1015/2022 be adopted as presented this 8th day of June 2022. I need a mover on this. Councillor Aries, seconded by Councillor Bushel. Any comments on it? I'm gonna call a question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. All right, staff report, development period permit application 22108 DVP is 125/1383 Silver Sands Road. It's very long recommendation. So as the recommendation is presented to the council, Scott, would you please comment on this so that council knows what's going on? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this is an application to vary the setback for a park model from 3 meters to 1.2 meters in relation to internal road or driveway. Property is designated residential waterfront medium density in the OCP and is zoned RSVP 1 recreational vehicle strata park zone 1. So on this drawing, you'd see the different strata lots. So this is that strata lot 125. And here you can see the air photo of the property. You can see existing park model, which is actually too close to the property line as it is, and they're proposing an addition on the north side and on the west side. Increase the square footage of the unit. They're looking at 120 square foot addition to the north side and then 140 square foot covered deck. They put in an application to vary the for the addition, and it was actually planning and development committee that recommended they go for the exterior setback to 1.2 meters to correct the non-conforming setback with just at the south end of the unit there. With these park models, they are actually built, they don't meet building code, they meet the CSA Z241 standard. So any additions would have to meet that Z241 standard. It's outside of what our building official could do. So an engineer would have to certify that it meets that Z241 standard. Just because they're built as one unit, so you don't want whatever they're adding on to catch fire. Yeah, the engineer would have to certify that it's been done correctly. So this one, we set this one out again to neighboring property owners. We get one property owner replied that they were in favor. We also got a letter from the Strata Council that they were in favor. Planning and Development Committee recommended issuing the DBP, and they came up with they recommended it for the existing park model as well. Building official again says that engineer is required, no concerns from bylaw officer engineering. The fire department is concerned with the limited space for fighting, especially the higher density parks and these park model units and RVs. More units you get, and as you reduce the setbacks, the less room they have for firefighters and firefighting equipment. That's recommending that this be issued. This one, it was a little bit different to work through because of that CSA standard, and it's outside of the BC building codes. So the owners insisted on moving forward. Really shouldn't have a major impact on the neighboring properties. They're on that external roads. Hopefully, if firefighters need to get in there, then they'll be able to pull the fence down and get in there as opposed to squeezing between two units. And staff's recommending that the variance be issued.
All right. I need a mover on the resolution. Councillor Bushel, I need a seconder. Councillor Ayres. Okay, comments or questions on this resolution? I'm not hearing any. Okay, I'm going to call the question as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, Scott. Okay, so we're moving on to 12B, annual meeting. Recommendation that the 2021 annual report be made available for public inspection and that the annual meeting to consider the report be set for June 22nd, 2022. I need a mover on this. Councillor Anderson, Councillor McCabe. All right, Jen, do you want to comment on this stage?
Certainly. So this is a legislative requirement. Section 98 of the community charter requires council prepare an annual report and set an annual meeting. And it must occur before June 30th. Beyond a legislative requirement, the annual report is actually a great piece as an external communication. So a lot of effort has gone in to prepare it and just share progress and initiatives of the district. I will have printed copies hopefully here by the end of the week. And annual meeting for June 22nd, where you can formally consider this report.
All right, any comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor McCabe.
Job well done in the report, with the exception that I need a different file photo on. And what do you have? Here's that professional. How do you look so good?
All right, I'm going to call a question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Malcolm. All right. 2022 Provincial Cabinet Meeting Request, UBCM Convention. Recommendation of the staff be directed to request meetings with provincial cabinet ministers and ministerial staff at the 2022 Union of BC Municipalities Convention for the following list topics. Okay, I need a mover on this. Councillor Anderson, Jen, you want to comment on this?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. So it is time again to request our meetings at UBCM. So just before we get into the topics, as a reminder, it will be held in person in Whistler this year. So please reach out to me if you're planning on attending in person. The council travel policy already authorizes all of council to attend, so you just have to let me know and I'll make sure you're registered. Regarding the topics, so if you scroll down a bit more, Kelly, those are the topics we had last year. And then scrolling down are just some topics that staff have we polled each other. I did do a call out to council as well if there's anything that they would like us to request meetings on. I'm just looking for direction today on topics. As we fill out the meeting requests, we expand on what our request actually is in the background and then find the right ministry. So really, the list here before you, if there's anything else you'd like to add, otherwise you could direct me to request meetings on all of those topics.
I'd like to recommend that we have a meeting with the Ministry of Agriculture.
We do have that on there, yes.
Is that on there?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have it as Eagle River Campground Access, but we could expand that to ALC and.
Oh, okay. Oh, there it is. I can see it. Okay, fine.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead.
We got to be careful with that one. ALC is independent from agriculture. So the ministry is different than the ALC. We can talk to the minister, but the minister will respond, as they've done in the past, that it's an independent judiciary and that you need to discuss it with the ALC. So in absence of a minister's meeting, I believe we should schedule a meeting, especially at the staff level with the ALC, but also the executive director and the chair with council, because you will get the standard response from the ministry. The two are separate.
What if we have a meeting with the staff and staff to staff?
That absolutely ideal.
Okay, I think that.
And any elected member can attend.
We gotta deal with this agricultural land commission. I'm just getting.
And that would be the executive director, Kim, and that would be the chair, who I think is still Dyson, I believe so. But they're just separate. I don't want council to waste their time with the ministry.
Okay, well, I just see it is here, agricultural and food, Eagle River Campground. I mean, maybe we can, anyway, whatever works. So we send a message. Counselor Mullins.
Two comments, the Eagle River or the ALC. Last time we met with the agriculture minister, we all fell off our chairs laughing because basically we mentioned the ALC and he said, there's nothing he could do. He said, so what else got that not help you with?
Yeah, that's exactly what he.
That's exactly what he.
Yeah.
So Kevin's absolutely right. You talking about ALC with the agriculture minister is not going to work. With the regional community forest, I think that should get staff to reach out to Splats and Enderby, and we should be ganging up on as we always do. And we should also see if staff can arrange, because of the little side-by-side ride we had with Keith and Graham, they suggested that we have a council to council meeting, and somebody, and start that whole.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
Thank you.
For Shuswap Healing Center, what's the thought process behind ministerial staff as opposed to the minister? And a second note on the same thing, just like Councillor Mullins mentioned, I think we should reach out to Splats, and then my thought is have as many council members there as possible, but excuse me, talking to the minister, not staff.
So last year we did request meetings with mental health and addictions and health, both on the topic for operational funding, and they were denied. So the intention was perhaps if we tried staff and seeing if we could go that route. We can absolutely try both again. We can request staff and minister meetings.
I think it's worth the shot.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
Through the chair, I think that if you have a commitment from members of Splatsy Council to attend with us, and you include that in your application for the request for the minister, he's going to have a hard time saying no.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, any other comments on this? Right?
I don't know if it's the right opportunity, but it'd be really good to hear a bit from the province about their transit plans for the future. The Let's Ride BC program and stuff, I think are the only hope for communities our size to actually get access to other communities through transit. It's not something we can afford transit about as much as we can afford a community pool. It needs to be something that comes from above.
That's on the list right down the bottom there.
Regional transit.
Yeah, well, that's just in the suggestion list.
And to confirm, we put our meeting requests in, sometimes they bounce it back to us and they say that's not the most appropriate ministry or avenue, and they actually bounce it around on their end. So we make our best efforts to match up the ministry with the topic, and then they have full control.
All right, thanks. All right, go ahead, Mo.
Just on slightly side note, but Councillor Malmus mentioned we should start getting together with Splatson and from our meeting, our project meeting for the healing center, that Councillor Teresa William has requested that we set up a meeting just with Teresa and I forget the other representative. Yeah, just those two, and that we would host and it would be here, and we send out a request to Megan.
Okay.
So before I forget, I just wanted to ask that.
Follow up on that.
Trying to think of the other one that wasn't before. Teresa, no, that's not anymore.
Great.
All right. Got that?
Yep.
Okay, next. District of Sycamore naming
Did we
policy.
get a mover on that motion though? Sorry.
Okay, I got.
Topics here presented, there was
Did
no
I get a
ad
mover on it?
that I have written down. Not that I have written down.
Okay, I need a mover on Councillor Malmus, second by Councillor Aries. Any other comments on it? I'll call the question. All in favor? Carrie, thank you. Okay, so moving on to the District of Sycamore naming policy. This is for direction. Jason, do you want to comment on this as to how we're going to look at alternatives when it comes to maybe trails? And right now we have, I think it's mainly road streets and that were dedicated based on previous mayors or something. But anyway, your comments.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, staff are looking for direction from council in this particular matter of naming facility, park trails, or other amenities throughout the city. Currently, the district does have a policy for street naming and had guidelines for that, but not how to address the other assets that families are requesting. So in the background we put there is we do have two families that have stepped forward recently, the Gavel family that most of council I think already knows about, was presented on May 11th at regular council meeting. And you also heard a little earlier about Rob from Ron Flockhart about his brother Rob Flockhart as well. We have a little some bits and pieces in there about that. In the research that we did, we went out there, we found many municipalities actually have already general guidelines for providing the naming for these various facilities. And the staff is recommending that we should probably take a look at our street naming policy and amend it to include the facilities, parks, trails, and other amenities within there, within the guidelines as well, so that we can identify the appropriate naming measures that for these requests that come through. We provide this is just a sample list of the type of facilities that could be named that already exist inside the community. This was from Steffi actually, as she's doing her work on the study that they're working through right now. There are others that were on that list and others we can identify that are not included in this currently right now. But it does give an indication as to what type of things that we could list through here. We really, as it says there, staff strongly recommend that before we do any kind of naming of any area, that we do a public consultation process to make sure that we're getting comments from the public as well, and possibly bringing out any information that may be known to the public that we're unaware of. And of course, through the process of forming a policy, there may be other gates along the way or other things that we identify that should be in the policy as well. So really, there are options at the bottom there, but it should be identified that those two requests that are currently in front of council, you have all your options available to you right now. You can move forward with naming those individually if you wish, We would still recommend a public consultation policy that you, no matter what we do, before that naming goes through, but you can skip that. Or a recommendation probably from staff potentially is that we design an actual policy around this ahead of time, and then as well as following the public consultation policy, and then before council has to make a decision. So we're just looking for direction from council as to how you'd like to move forward with the two that are existing, and also with the ones that we expect will keep coming in the future as come along.
All right, any comments from council on this? Go ahead, Gordon.
Through the chair, Jason, like if we were to go option one, it would take quite a while to, go through the public process. It'd probably take a year or so, wouldn't it?
Yeah, hopefully not years. I mean, to amend the policy, there are a lot of existing policies out there already that we can draw from. So we're not starting from scratch. I mean, we really could just do a staff group, get it together and pick the best of those. So, but the public process, is up to council and how long you want to put that out for. We advertise it usually 2-3 weeks in advance. They have a public area, correct that information and go forth. So I can't see it taking years. No, I would hope maybe months at the most before we'd be able to do that. Move forward with that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
I understand. I know that we don't own the rec center, but do we have options or access to change any names within or give names to any of the rooms within the rec center? Like when you first come in, there's that bit of a space, could that be Flocky Hockey Space? Like a big sign on the wall that says Flocky Hockey Space or something like that? Or I'm just using that as an example. Can we change some names in there upstairs or something?
Go ahead, Evan.
Well, I mean, the short answer is that's a CSRD decision because it's their facility. We certainly know the controversy when it was last suggested that we change the name of the rec center. That wasn't that long ago. The Rec Society, one of the last things they did, led by Wally, was they named the sort of the lobby area, the outside lobby area as you go into the rec center. It's Rob Flockhart Way. So there is recognition from the Rec Society. That was Wally. Because there was no traction whatsoever to honor that. And so when you do go I call it the outdoor breezeway, when you're heading east, you'll see Rob Flockhart Way. And it's not a District of Sycamoose initiative. So he has been recognized, at least by the efforts of the outgoing Rec Society. I do agree that we should get a policy because there'll be more requests and it would be good to aid council because these are tough decisions. The history, the family, who qualifies, where, what asset. In the case of Flockhart, I did go down. He was raised in 2 Mile and there is a dead end street, but it's Cartier. I think it's Cartier Close. As you know, 2 Mile has a Plains of Abraham theme and in the history of the battle. So you have Montcalm, you have Cartier, you have Wolf. And the only potential asset, there's a trail that leads to the beach area. At 2 Mile, it sort of leads to where the failed hotel is. Whether that could be named, no different than what we did with the Abbott family. We didn't have a policy, but the Abbott family donated land and council decided, let's name a little section of that trail to the Abbott family. Now you have Abbott Trail on Old Town Road. You did that back in 2016, 17. Or, you name a beach. But in the case of the request from Flockhart, which I can speak to because I've been involved in their discussions, it's ideally something in the 2 Mile area. I don't think there's an opportunity for the streets to be named because of the aforementioned, but there is an opportunity for a trail or a beach. In terms of the gavel, there's lots of options there. But I totally agree, in a perfect world, a policy would aid in these future requests.
Colleen, more comments on Jeff?
Just, so policy prior to choosing. So.
Yeah, what we've had is, just to clarify, we've had a policy on street names. but we don't have a policy on trails and other assets as identified in.
There's no options to this.
So in the case of the Abbott family, council just decided, let's do the right thing. It's outside the policy, it's not a street, and you named that trail the Abbott Trail in recognition of the land donated. And it was outside of policy, and you just did it. If you were to do something similar outside of the current policy, you'd have to focus on those, you know, the trails and parks and beaches and other assets not identified in the current street name policy, if that makes any sense. So all you have is a policy on street names. It's sort of loosey-goosey, but you have no policy on other assets. Rooms, for example, your new healing center. There's talk about maybe recognizing some past pillars in the community regarding healthcare. You don't have a policy on that.
Okay, Councillor Malmus and Jen, she wants to comment as well. Go ahead.
Through the chair, at 2 Mile, there is a development gonna happen out there, and he's doing 21 houses, and I think he has a road. Maybe we could talk with Grayson about what he's doing, and maybe that road could be named, because renaming a street is a nightmare for the people that live on that street. They gotta change everything, driver's license, healthcare, they change everything, so that's at the 2 Mile area. There will be a street there. So from the plan I seen anyway, so if we spoke with him, I'm not sure he cares what the name of the street is.
Grayson. Yeah.
I think in the past, though, that was the case. It was when a new street came available, then there was a name to it. I don't think that we've actually changed the name of any streets. Although we were looking at changing the rec center, but that was an interesting conversation when it comes to the CSRD. I know lots of memorial arenas that I've played in over the years, but anyway, to have alternatives in this particular bylaw, I think is something that we certainly should look at, because then it gives us alternatives. Councillor McCabe.
One quick comment, under the list of things that could be named. We could add our road allowance between Shoeshop and Paradise. It doesn't have a name and it's a road.
That's not.
So that's one road, that's a road that could be named, because it's not named yet. And now I'd like to recommend that we vote on this recommendation using option 1.
The council directs staff to amend District of Sycamores street naming policy PW 18 to include the following amenities. List the amenities and update guidelines, including public consultation. That's option 1.
I'll second that.
Second that. Any other comments on this? I think that's a good.
Jen has something to say.
I was just gonna say, you know, all of the options are available for council. If you want, we can start conducting some public consultation now on what assets to name Mr. Gavel and Mr. Flockhart. We can proceed with that. We don't need to wait for the policy to come back and get ahead of those. We just think that going forward, it would be a good idea to have this policy in place. But if there's any particular areas that council has in mind for either of those, like, let us know and we can maybe put that out and start garnering that public input before council would make a formal decision.
Okay. More comments? Okay, I'm gonna call it a question. All those in favor? All right, staff, do your work. All right. Next, finding signage at Sycamore houseboats. Councillor Evans wanted to speak to this, but he's not here, so.
He sent an email. May I read it out?
Yeah, go ahead.
Gotta go DJ at the high school dance. Basically, the blue sign pointing people to the beaches is too small, very small, and it is hard to notice as you're driving across the bridge. I think we need signs at Gill and the houseboat at Silver Sands Turnoff. Big signs with our branding pointing out how to get to our beach parking. I had an event at the beach park with 350 people from the shoe shop attending, and many people who have never been to our beach park didn't see the signs and didn't know where to go. Just putting it out there.
Okay, comments or questions?
That falls to MOTI. We're signing on our arterial, on the arterial. You have to go through the area, the local road area manager would be the first contact.
And then they would take it to their folks and, because they have standards for, they're called blue and white signs. And where they're placed and how big they are and all that stuff. We could send a support letter along with that, but the final decision is with the ministry.
From my 16, 17 years experience in putting up signs to get people to go in the right direction. It's complicated. People don't read signs. You're never gonna get everyone to point from point A to point B using signs because they just, unless you're looking and you're in tune and focused, you'll get there, but people are always gonna ask for signs.
People are Googling more than they're
Yeah,
watching signs.
yeah.
Sycamore's Beach Park, I guarantee it'll come up there. I don't care where you are, you can get it.
Yeah.
Except it's not gonna, that parking lot at the back off of Silver Sands is difficult.
All right, go ahead.
If council supports approaching MOTI for those signs. I could ask for, I've been asked from folks in a dog park for signing to how to get to the dog park. It's the same process, same request. We could just throw dog park signs into that too. Because they're way they tried to sell it was
Solution for this, say we can just truck stop in order to.
people are stopping and letting their dogs out on the side of the road to defecate or go pee or poop. Instead of in a dog park where there's doggy bags and garbage cans and stuff, so.
All right. Okay.
It's the same request, same process.
Any other comments on that? All right, we'll move on. The caboose, Councilor Anderson, you had.
I'm hearing a lot of comments and getting a lot of feedback about, and I don't know anything about the caboose and why the caboose is white or what we're doing to the caboose or how did this all start. I have no answers to this, so I thought this would be a really good forum to get up to speed.
All right, go ahead, Evan, you want to?
I'll try. It was painted white.
Yeah, it was Sue. I heard.
Thanks for your report.
Yeah. Everyone in town heard.
The intent was initiated by the effort of the communities in bloom, trying to, we're trying to achieve 5 blooms this year and an attempt was made to restore some of the glamour and the sizzle of the caboose, and the intent was to rebrand it. The mayor has met with a group of local volunteers who would like to have discussions with CP Rail to restore it back to its original historical CP colors. There's costs associated with it. There's potential grants. I believe the meeting went very well. So the district and the communities in bloom people, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but pulled back. We will assist as much as we can, but now the initiative will be led by volunteers who want to restore the caboose to, I believe, its natural historical thing. Correct?
I believe that's what they want.
Yeah, and I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Mayor, with your meeting with the.
Colleen?
I just want to make a comment. Some of the comments to me were that the caboose was donated to the community of Sycamoose as a historic monument, a historic piece. So I guess my question is, how did that historic piece get on the road to being white? I mean, I can see us, because now it's costing money, but I can see us touching it up, but.
I think that was the plan, to touch it up and bring, and I mean, it was starting to, there was rust and there was problems with the current or the old colors, and it was starting to look run down. The intent was to beautify it. However, the direction to rebrand it to the District of Sycamoose brand was shelved. In return, a group of volunteers have said, let us have discussions with CP Rail and allow us to bring back its original color with new paint and new volunteer efforts. And not costing the taxpayer or the communities in bloom people anything. And communities in bloom recognize that maybe they were a little too aggressive, but they've said, no, that's fine. We'll stand down and we'll allow the volunteers of the community who want to restore it back to its original CP colors. And we'll support those discussions with CP Rail.
Right, Jeff, go ahead.
It was sandblasted and that's primer. I don't know about people, but a flat white paint like that, that wasn't gonna be the end color. It was what was being done, and now whoever's gonna do it, even if you're gonna restore it to the CP colors, it's a metal body. It needed to be cleaned up. The rust needed to be taken off, but that's how they did it. So it's got white primer on it now, so they can paint it whatever color they want. It's done.
Go ahead, Colleen.
Sure, that's fine, but how did we get to this point? Like, how do you take a piece that's been donated to the community of Sycamoose? It doesn't come here. We have, no one's, who's leading the charge that changes the donated piece that was donated to Sycamoose? I guess that's my question. And maybe perhaps, again, should this not be a conversation that comes up so we're all on the same page, so we know what's going on in the community?
All right, I'll comment here. Go ahead, Jeff.
So Communities in Bloom through Deb, he goes around and cleans up stuff. And so she looked at it and said that she would have a look at it. She went to CP and asked them. CP didn't offer anything. So that's when some of the discussion was going, well, you know what, we got the Sycamoose wrap or whatever, but we got to still clean it up and still do a primer. So that was part of that discussion. Well, then, as always, the public gets their nose in it. They get it way out of joint. But it was never explained about what was trying to be done. She's just cleaning it up because look, it was an eyesore. You hardly even noticed the paint on it was so faded and old. I thought it was maybe a CN, not a CP, because CP's kind of got the big red and black on it. So it's primered and ready to be painted whatever color the volunteers work out with CP.
So how I got involved in this thing, okay, so Debbie, she actually brought this to council and she talked about restoring and beautifying the caboose. I think it was, I don't know, some time back. So they went ahead and they put the primer coat on it. And then I was approached by Ray Larilla's daughter and saying, well, look at, is there something that maybe we can do? And then Tia wanted to have a meeting with me as well. And so Daryl and myself and Tia had this meeting in regards to what she would like to see done with the caboose. I then, based on the fact that Dean Hanley is my neighbor and he's part of the Museum Society. So I had a conversation with him. What's the process in this whole thing? So I kind of got dragged into this. I didn't even know that the caboose was actually even painted. Okay, so then we had the meeting and Tia said, we would like to form a society and we would like to be able to restore the caboose in its original capacity. She's now had a conversation with Dean Hanley and during this time, I had Wendy look into a contract that might have been signed with CP Rail. Dean told me that the caboose was probably donated to us, and these cabooses, there was 1,200 of them in Canada. And in some cases, these cabooses are actually caboose RVs where people at a campsite, they've done all kinds of different things with cabooses, right? Anyway, so the bottom line, it came down to this. The community under Tia and some of her friends and whatnot want to restore, and they've now reached out to Dean Hanley and whatnot, and they want to get them caboose painted back to yellow and in other communities such as I'm trying to think of which community it is. They have the caboose that they've actually restored it back to its original site, and underneath of it they had a bit of a welcome to Nakusp. It's Nakusp done that thing. So that's an idea that they have. So basically the district of Sycamoose kind of washed our hands, walked away from this whole thing. And I think Jen might have reached out and basically told everybody by email that this is what was taking place. And so this society, the houseboat, the Friends of the Houseboat Society is going to redo it, and the district of Sycamoose is backing away from this. Should have been brought to council. I got into it. That was asked for these conversations with Tia. I had a conversation with Dean Hanley, and it's up to the community and that society to restore it. And that's basically what's taking place. So, bottom line, so I was just approached. I didn't even know it was painted white at that time, but sometimes you just are brought into these conversations. Go ahead, Gord.
Yes, through the chair. I kind of remember when it was brought here and trying to find a place to go. And I thought it was given to the Museum Society. I thought they were to look after it, from what I can remember back in the day.
So what took place when Wendy did some research on this is she went to the file and she found out that it was donated. There was never any contract that we had to keep it specifically restored in CP colors or whatever else. So, so they at one stage when they decided not to use the cabooses anymore, they had all of these cabooses and they didn't know what the hell to do with them. So they just started donating them to different communities. So there was no real set rules was what we're going to do with this caboose. But Deb, she felt that the caboose was starting to really run down and was looking shoddy and she wanted to beautify it. And this was kind of something that she had brought forward. She had talked to Daryl about it. And so that's how this all came about. So when a group of our community wants to, if they want to step up and they want to bring it back to their regular colors. And so I said, well, you might want to figure out how you're going to raise the money to do this. And what are the timelines? I mean, it's going to be 3 years and it's still going to be this color or whatever. And so they said, no, we're going to try to do this before the Communities in Bloom judging happens by the end of July. So that's kind of where I was involved in this thing. But anyway, we moved on. And Daryl, you want to comment?
Sir, can we throw the proofs up? I forwarded some proofs.
And Daryl was working with Deb on this as well. So
Yeah, I take full ownership for this. This is what we had planned. We wanted to make it look like the houseboat. Deb and I have been talking about this for the last probably 3 years. Last year, I promised we'd get to it. We didn't get to it. I know she's mentioned it in her updates, but I don't think we got this out in front of everybody. That's on me. I kind of looked at this as being, a transformation and a nice surprise. And one day people are going to drive by and just go, wow. The problem with this project was the execution of the plan. So we got it painted to a point. It's not primer, it's paint. And I had it white and I was told it was done. And I had the decals coming on the next day. And I drove by at the end of the day on my way home to look at it. And I saw dark patches on it. So I called off the decal guy. I said, this thing isn't painted right. I'm really sorry. We have to bump it to Monday. And he said, I can't be there for a week. And so we got it painted and it sat, and then people got on boards and it grew. And then Terry was confronted, and I apologize for that, but this was the plan. And what they're going to do with it now, I don't know. I mean, we could move ahead and do this, but there's a group that wants to see it restored to its original form, and
yeah,
I've stepped away from it.
Councillor Monmouth and Councillor Bushel.
So through the chair, what are we going to do with those decals?
Find another home for them.
Gonna put them on your solar panels.
Deb, are you online? Do you want to speak?
No.
Yeah, just real quick. So I did send an email to all of council February 4th. And then when I did my delegation February 23rd, it was brought forward to everybody. So and I spoke to CPR before, and they were saying 40,000 to do the restoration. So that's when I came up with the plan B and brought it forward to council. And once I had done that, I assumed that Daryl and I were free to come up with that plan. I did talk to the Historical Society, and I talked to Dean about it at length. And I said, you know what, if you guys can restore it down the road, said they needed to do grant funding and it was going to take them a few years. I said, absolutely, I will support that, but I want something in the interim that isn't embarrassing. And so my apologies, but honestly, I did bring it forward to all you guys, and I was pretty clear, and I worked with Daryl. So I absolutely support Tia's efforts, and I've asked her to be a delegate to the judges with regard to the restoration, because you know what? It's council's decision. And if you guys are good with, like the committee that's been struck in doing that, I will support their efforts, and I will welcome Tia to being part of the team to talk to the judges.
All right, thanks, Deb. Go ahead, Colin.
I'll just be really quick. So Daryl or Deb, has the team that's taken on the rest, restoring it, seen the plan for the Sycamoose branding?
I don't know. I'm not in Sycamoose right now, so I'm not sure what Daryl was able to show them.
Through the chair, the meeting that we had with the one concerned party did get the proofs in front of them and didn't seem too interested in looking at it. So
they want to restore it to their its natural state. That's what the group does.
Had it not rained, you'd have been on your way.
You can get into trouble without trying. Gord, you want to?
Yes, through the chair. I know a guy that worked for CP for all those years and for all his life. And before they were yellow, they were all white. So the whole caboose was all white.
So did some research, yeah. So there's CN have red cabooses. CP had some red cabooses way back when. And then they started, I think, I'm not sure what year it was, but then they painted all of their cabooses yellow. And each caboose had a number on it. Okay, and so to restore it back to its original state, and now that it's got the primer on it and it's been sandblasted, they can paint it back to yellow and put the proper number on it and whatnot. And if they want to, I think it could be beneficial twofold. Welcome to Sycamoose or whatever in front of it. Maybe we could put up a sign for the people that actually donated their time in this. My thing was the financial side of this thing. And I said, look, at most grants usually, have to be assisted with the community, right? And they said, well, look, we'll see if we can raise the money. So originally the restoration of this particular caboose was quoted at $40,000. Okay. That we can do this for $5,000. So they're looking at raising the money, however they want to do it. And I don't think they're going to come to us for assistance. They want to put it back to its original state. And that's the community speaking. So we had that conversation and Tia wanted to do this. And I said, you can organize this. It's been on Facebook. And there was a lot of derogatory comments on Facebook because we painted it white. So anyway, that's kind of the story. But anyway, I think we got it in the right hands now, in my opinion, anyway. But if council wants to make a different decision on it, I mean, welcome to do that because I mean, I was brought into it and had the conversation. I've always said I've always had an open door, and Tia wanted to talk to me, and so did Ray Larilla's daughter, and I don't know what her name is, but anyway, she was very, very adamant. She said, we can get enough people together, we can restore this, we can put it back in its original state. It's an heirloom to the community, and they went on and on and on, and I think I had to agree with them. All right, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I think the committee's already reached out to NCUSP and they're getting all the original documents and stuff that their society did to restore the caboose in NCUSP, like all the codes for the right color paint and all the efforts and lessons learned from what they did in NCUSP. So I think they've already reached out to NCUSP and got all that information. So they seem to be moving forward with it. So I'm not going to change things now. But it would have been nice to make a decision before it was even painted in the first place. But I thank Tia for stepping up instead of just being on Facebook and complaining. I applaud Tia for stepping forward. And And now I think we need to support this new society as much as we can throughout their efforts to restore it.
Good calling.
And Daryl, this doesn't fall on, you're not, you don't need to wear all of this. It's a, you know, a group effort or communication just got dropped. If we knew about it, and I can't remember the email. So, yeah. Yes,
It kind of got time sensitive because this was happening, 10 days ago. And we weren't gonna have this council, we could have had a special council meeting on, I guess. But anyway, one led to another and conversation, this and that, and so I take the responsibility of supporting that society. I think if the community wants to restore it to its natural state, then, and they're willing to put together a group and whatever, that, good for them. That was my call. Anything else on this? Okay, thank you. All right, correspondence for action. Kim Fulton, transportation, okay, because it's our name. On action. Anybody here would want to?
I have
We got going on here,
I have a question. I have a comment on one of these.
You have a comment on one of them? Go ahead.
Yeah. I don't recall us donating to the Sierra Club.
Okay, we got an answer for that.
Oh, good.
Okay, Kelly.
Yes, Councillor Busher brought that to my attention too today. So we emailed them saying we have no record of making a donation, and I got the response that somebody donated in our honor, an anonymous donor.
Really?
That was what was communicated to me. The District of Sycamore did not donate to this.
Go ahead, Gord.
Is there any way that Sierra Club can find out who?
Well, they said it was an
Anonymous.
donor. So they're not gonna let me know,
That would mean themselves.
perhaps.
Might get an anonymous donor to donate to her boost.
Yeah, that's how they work.
Yeah, we were questioning that. I asked Kelly, I said, did we make this decision? And then she wrote a letter and we found out that somebody donated on our behalf. So there's not much we can do about it. We have made the decision and then we got a response. Go ahead.
And my next question is UBCM. We have a resolution. Is anyone going to UBCM in person? Any counselors going?
I might if I'm not sick.
Gonna go to,
I might go.
This,
I don't go to UBCM this year.
because we do have, is somebody gonna,
Third week September.
UBCM.
yes.
Well, the 16th.
12th.
So somebody needs to speak to our resolution.
What, should I go?
Well,
You're not running.
now that this year, you have the opportunity to go to UBCM because COVID has kind of been shelved and can go in person. So every other year, every councillor and mayor has got the opportunity to go to UBCM. When it comes to FCM, we sent two councillors and the mayor. That was it. Okay. So as far as talking on the resolution, whoever goes, we'll make a decision as to who can speak on behalf of whatever resolution is put forward. And we'll go from there. Councillor Malman.
Oh, I would go to UBCM if our partners for the community forest go to that for the two meetings. That I'm the portfolio leader for. Go, and I'm the guy that's always been at the front of the room for that community forest, so. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Ron or not Colleen, I'm the guy that was and I it actually disappoints me that Bill 28 was passed, and we should have been at the front of the list. And Richard Badwaring gave it to Lower Mainland.
But it's up to you. If you want to go to UBCM, then let staff know.
I think it would depend on what audience we get from their requests, if, you know. And then that person with that portfolio, if we get to go.
Yeah, no, it's a good suggestion. Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
So I guess, just as Malcolm said, I mean, if we make these requests for these meetings, I think the only way we're gonna get these meetings is if we have our partner with us. First Nations Plaza. And we list that as part of our delegation going in there. Then if they deny us, well, it's not gonna look too. So if we can get our meeting. Because did not Doug Thomas and Graham Grove both say that we needed to have the council, the full council, not an individual one-on-one meeting, full council. Because they're all new now. And this will probably be the last time of their full one, but there's some education of what's gone on in the past. So far, Doug came to those meetings and Teresa came to those meetings. So well, there's two people that were involved. You know, now the good thing is Doug Thompson is cheap. He's goofy.
In the past, we've had delegations of Splatson, District of Sycamoose, Andrew. I don't know, out of all the resolutions that we've taken to UBCM, apart from maybe the Quag of Muscle, I'm not so sure that we've had too many results, but it really does have some impact when you go as a group. So just one other thing, this correspondence regarding Murray Hills, just comment on that. It's the annexation thing. I'd like to get some clarity on that. Where are they at? And where is the District of Sycamoose at with this based on fact that we're getting a consultant to study on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was surprised to receive this from Brian. Our discussions have been with Brian French and his team of Perry and a few others who have been in Sycamoose. Sort of laid out the plans for Mara Hills and the impact it has. District of Sycamoose, primarily transportation, the road itself, services. I've never met Brian Lovig, and we received this. So if this is the case, and that Mara Hills does not support annexation, I've been through this process enough where it's time and money. I don't know if there's any point in continuing this. But again, this is not something we initiated. This is something we received as a result of I guess, an unofficial petition by certain members who live within the CSRD outside the DOS who asked us to look into it. But this is a primary, probably the largest landowner with the proposed development of so many units. And they're saying, no, thank you. So I thought it was incumbent to share that with not just council, but with the public. And at the end of the day, we can go back to the other residents who are petitioning us to continue it, but I just don't see any point anymore. That's my professional opinion.
So are we going to get grant money in order to do this study? Is that the case?
Or for the province?
Cost of taxpayer money?
It's before the province right now. What's the typical split? Is it 50-50, Jen?
Yeah, no, we're waiting for the revised proposal back with a reduced scope. So they haven't even, Lawson Engineering hasn't responded, then we'll take it to the province.
From the proponent, and then we, the province.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilor McCain.
Well, what's the population of Shandy Cove? They have an association out there. How many people belong to Shandy Cove?
I don't know. Don't know.
A lot more than at Hyde Mountain.
Weren't they in favor of annexation? Didn't they request it?
No, that's the problem, you know, and again, the whole point of the process is to identify exactly who's in favor, who's not in favor, but I just don't see it, folks. I just don't see it. I mean, this was a big one. But again, it is council's decision to continue to pursue with it. But I just know how the process works. You have to have pretty good interest from all stakeholders to be annexed in.
What about the interest of the District of Sycamoose when it comes to a septic system out at Hyde Mountain and water and all that when we're a kilometer away from putting them on our own system. And I mean, is this not concerns? I mean, they're 500 meters from our water intake and I mean, there's these environmental issues and infrastructure issues that should be concerned. I don't know. I mean, is that a concern? I mean, if we had a consultant go in there and recognize some of these challenges and come back to us and say, well, this is what's going to take place out there. And I mean, could it impact the district of Sycamore's water quality somewhere down the line? I don't know. I mean, just questions as to where are we going when the consultant comes back with a report? It could be beneficial for everybody. It could be beneficial for them and beneficial for us. I'm just thinking out loud.
In terms of service agreements with Mara Hills, we can still do that with or without annexation.
Okay.
Would it be in a perfect world where Mara Hills would support annexation, come within the district, and then we would simply hook up them no different than any other property owner? Sure. But this group has said, thanks, but no thanks, we're staying where we are. So we can still, because we do have concerns about septic and potable water being drilled, we can still sit down with the proponent team of Mara Hills and enter into a service agreement where we can hook them up. But it would be to their advantage to stay within the CSRD. And, we wouldn't have that luxury of having them in part of any future annexation. So back to my earlier point, I'm just not sure where this is going, annexation.
Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
So you had back and excited, and then we decided to pull the trigger on this.
He didn't decide to.
Well, the council, we had some information that said that they wanted to join. Now, did they want to join because they wanted water and sewer, or they just wanted water and sewer? It was just I wasn't there part of the conversation. So
clarify again, we have met with Brian French and his team, not Brian Ludwig. I don't know this Brian. Brian French and his team. Let me finish, please. 3 things they're asking for, and they supported the annexation, what they told me: roads, water, sewer. Then we received this from the CEO of Pinto West, which is the owner of Mara Hills.
That's the golf course.
Yeah. So your question has to be directed to Brian, not me.
No,
I don't know.
No, I'm saying, that's what I'm trying to figure out is who's the guy that you met with?
Brian French.
Just a developer.
He's part of Pinto West. He's part of the Pinto West team, who is the owner of Mara Hills. Brian is the CEO, the top person of Pinto West, who I have not met, who authored this email. My discussions have been with Brian French and his team. There's Perry, who handles construction, and there's 2 other gentlemen who are investors. I forget their names. There was 4 of them that were in town that day, but I've never met this gentleman.
So would it not be incumbent to reach back out to the guy that you actually talked to?
I did.
And what
I did. I said, this letter comes to a surprise and no response.
My opinion on this is,
I asked them to get back to me.
so this is the interesting challenge out of all of this stuff. Okay, when it comes to annexation out there, and when it comes to the compromise that we might be looking at, and that is the concerns around, what's happening to the lake and our road system that's actually going out there. I mean, there's a lot of to support this, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't support it, but what sort of challenges would the district of Sycamore receive based on what they want to do when they do this development out there? If there's going to be 1,000 homes out there, then the district of Sycamore is going to be compromised. That's why I'm thinking we should go ahead and get the consultant, get them to do the study on this thing, so that we all know what the details are around what the challenges might be for the district of Sycamore from all different, concerns. So that's why I say we go ahead with this thing, because now there's 68 other people that would like to see this happen. And that's just one development out there. So, I'm not so sure that we shouldn't really think about this a little bit because I think that development out there is it's gonna affect Sycamoose. Anyway, just my thoughts. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I think that we haven't got a price back yet on the amended scope of work. I think maybe you might want to wait to get that. And then maybe it's do a little due diligence, finding out some things. I see Greg Darrell's pictures up there. Wouldn't hurt to ask him if he's part of it. I don't know how big a part of it he is, but at the same time, you got two different stories, right? Like, it depends who's biggest wallet out there, I guess. Like, just because he's the CEO doesn't mean he's got the biggest percentage.
Kelly, can you see that letter again?
Sharing you the letter.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying that I'd like to ask a few more questions.
Maybe we bring it before council.
Next council meeting, we may have a amended price from the owner.
Well, yes.
And then we could go, okay, do we want to take the risk or not as a council?
Yeah, so it's,
Just hang on. Do you had your hand up? Did you? Okay, so, okay, I thought you did, so I was gonna give you an opportunity to speak, but okay. Malcolm and then Gord and then we'll end this meeting.
It's just interesting to see the CCs on this. That's why I asked Kelly to bring it up. 4 different people from the CSRD were CC'd on this. So it's
Good point.
it's of note to, and Jody, the current CAO.
Just two, the board chair and Jody, they're just on there twice.
Karen,
Kevin.
Oh, Kevin and Jody.
yeah. So it's interesting to see the CCs. So
Just concerned.
we're not trying to steal stuff from the CSRD. We thought we were acting on a request, and if we're not acting on a request, then I'm sort of disagreeing with your worship there. I mean, there's still Shandy Cove, I thought was asking for annexation, but my understanding of annexation, it has to be a continual connection. So, but you're allowed to skip a reserve like IR3. But short of skipping a reserve, you need a continual connection. So we'd have to go through these folks' property to get to Shandy Cove and we wouldn't have that continual connection. So even if we wanted to move forward with Shandy Cove's request, we couldn't because we wouldn't have a continual connection.
Shanty Cove is more high mountain.
We would have a continuous connection between Shanty Cove and the district of Sycamore. Because the IR3 isn't a consideration.
They would hit Shanty Cove before it comes up to Merritt.
Yeah, or High Mountain.
High Mountain is the last part, very last part.
So we might want to revise this one more time at our last council, at our last council meeting, we took out Swansea Point because there was no interest from Swansea Point. Now there's no interest from Mary Hills, so be it. We're not looking to aggressively expand. We're just trying to respond to requests. And so if there's still a request on the table for Shanty Cove, I think it's incumbent on us to still act on that.
Well, sure, because we're giving them fire protection. All right.
And the reason that this came up, if you guys remember back, we got a list from the West Side residents, and there was probably, I'm gonna guess 38 names on there that wanted to be annexed, like on the west side. So I disagree too. If Mary Hills doesn't want to be part of the district of Sycamoose, so be it. Let's still do our due diligence and find out how this looks before but we can take them out in Swansea and carry on.
Gord?
And you gotta remember that their development permit is for 130 RV sites, isn't a lot of septic or affluent. And the new group is talking hotels, subdivision. I mean, are they gonna get approval to dump that kind of volume into the, through a sewage system back into the lake? I don't know, but
it's drinking water.
It's a drinking one, yeah, for sure.
All right, I don't think we want to interfere with the development. It's just what is concerning to district of Sycamore. That's my concern on this whole thing. And I guess maybe somebody that took a study on this could maybe answer some of those questions. But as far as them developing it, I have no concerns regarding that, but we have a road system that goes and joins. We got the road bridge being redeveloped. Anyway, Councillor McMillan, and then we're gonna call this.
You know, it just. The CSRD would be aware. And I don't wanna get way off topic. Why did the guy CC the CSRD on this? Like, what did they offer? Reduce tax rate, this, that, so what did they offer? Because that's a conflicting message that we got, that we want to be annexed. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, when we explained the whole annexation process, we have the letter requested before, and at that time, we did this, talked about it. Sarah or Hyde wasn't interested at that time either. But when we do the request to the province, we can, doesn't matter whether they want it or not, we can still request it as providing services. And honestly, if they want our water and sewer, like Daryl, have we got our capacity increased yet? No. We can't take on 100 houses, let alone 1,000. So we're gonna offer them a servicing agreement? The hell's gonna pay for it?
They are.
They better annex in.
That is why I am stunned to see this email. This is more than 150 RV lots. When we met with that foursome, they've got major plans, multi-millions and millions of dollars of infrastructure. I just don't see it being on a septic field and wells. It would be a lot easier for them to at least have the study go through. But the whole point of the annexation process is the study. But they have said, we're not interested in even that, we're pulling out. If it were just 150 units of RV, all right, let's focus on Shandy Cove. But what I was told and what Scott's been told is that they've got major plans. You know where hole number 1 is for you golfers? Okay, so on the east side, that's where the road's going through. They're reconfiguring holes number 1 and 2. They're planning a major road, an extension of Old Spall Road, to lead to a conference center, a hotel, to my understanding. It's massive. So I thought they were in support of at least the study, so we could look at the costs. What does all this mean? And then we receive this.
All right. All right, anyway,
I'm done.
Me too.
recommendation,
Come speak to us.
regular council meeting for June 8, 2020 at 35.
Good.
I need a mover, Collie. Counselor Anderson, Counselor McCabe, all in favor, we're out of here. Thank you.